We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Television Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest today is a well-known champion bodybuilder named Mike Sable, also known as Mike the Zipper Sable and the Zipper and lots of other nicknames. And Mike Sable is the winner of the Mr.America, Mr. Universe, and Mr. World bodybuilding competitions. He also teaches these ideas worldwide through his organization. And it's a pleasure to have Mike Sable today on Here's to Your Health. Mike, welcome.
Hi, Josh. Nice to be talking to you. Nice to be here today. First of all, before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to my girls who just competed this weekend. They call themselves Zippers Bikini Kittens, and they're bikini, physique, and figure competitors. I'd like to do a shout out to Jan Love. She took third in the Masters over 50. She's 60 years old, looks absolutely amazing. I'd like to do a shout out to Courtney Moran. She's my baby kitten. We call her Courtney Kitten. And she took third in the bikini competition, which was a tough show. And a big shout out to Brigitte Berg, who won the Masters, not only in her class, but won the overall Masters competition in the bikini competition this Saturday night at the California State Championships. So we're excited about that, Josh. And let's rock this show and get some things going, get some information out there, and create some controversy, or maybe help some people along the road.
Now, you are a well-known champion bodybuilder, and at this point, you're not 23 any longer, and you continue to work with bodybuilding, but also wellness and longevity, because I'm assuming that your understanding of wellness has changed since the 70s, 80s, when you were competing professionally, and that you know more now, and that you, as an educator, as a coach, that's what you bring to the table.
Well, I'll tell you, if you look back at the 70s, 80s, 90s, the involvement of nutrition, the understanding, there's been so many gimmicks out there, so many things programmed into people. I mean, the nutrition industry, the dietary industry, and I hate the word diet because the first three letters of the word tell you where you'll end up, is such a gimmick. It's a $50 billion a year gimmick. If diets work, why are there so many? So reality is, we've learned so much more about nutrition, so much more about training, because we're in a society where more is better. Take more of this, take more of that. There's a magic pill here, a magic pill there. It's just simply not true. You need to get yourself to the gym. You need to work out. You need to train. You need to better your life. Don't be that person that sits back on your couch and wonders, is this ever going to happen to me, or am I the exception to the rule? Because we have genetic predispositions in our families that are extremely, extremely bad. If you have diabetes in your family, you have heart problems, cholesterol. I told you earlier, I have that in both sides of my family. Right. The highest my cholesterol has been in 40 years is 120. Now, unless I'm, like say, the milkman's kid, I didn't escape heart problems or anything, because both sides of my family, they die from heart attacks. They have high blood pressure problems. They're on medications all their life. It's time we change and start to create wellness, and understanding that gimmick out there is trying to manipulate you into believing there's a magic way to get there. There's no magic way to get there. You got to live your life completely on a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical basis. I mean, that's the key to being happy. You can't be happy spiritually and not emotionally. You can't be happy physically and not mentally. So I talk about the four wheels going down the road of life. There's four wheels on your car. If one's out of balance, the car is bumpy. So you have to have that spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical balance. And the biggest drug we have in the world today, with sugar and Coca-Cola and drinks, and sorry, I can't mention names, but anyway, with drinks, you have an enigma out there where people are being manipulated into doing things that are harmful to their health, and that is killing them. It's taking the years off their life. It's not enhancing their life.
Okay. Mike, before we went on the air today, we were discussing your performance on the show, and you mentioned that you had the great good fortune at age 11 to bump into a coach who gave you what advice?
Well, I'll tell you, it was funny. I was sitting at After I raced bicycles for years before I got into bodybuilding.
Even at age 10 and 11?
Yeah, when I was young. And the reason I got into bodybuilding was I was so thin from cycling, riding a bike 300 miles a week. You become very, very thin, and I didn't want to be thin anymore. So I looked at my cycling coach, and I had a drink. I ordered a drink after a race that I had won. So maybe I deserved like a little treat or something like that. It was a drink that my grandparents who raised me didn't let me use, but I put it on the table. I went to grab it. He slapped his hand on it, knocked off the table. He said, "Don't ever put anything in your body that doesn't make you stronger." Ladies and gentlemen, don't ever put anything in your body that doesn't make you stronger.
And as an 11-year-old young man, you decided, oh, you just didn't really know that, but it made perfect sense for you, and you listened.
I listened, and the bottom line is it's still in my vocabulary today. And you know that I bring that up. It's very, very important that people understand you're controlling your destiny. God gave us free will, and he lets us do what we want. He gave us faith. He gave us hope. He gave us love. But the bottom line is we create our destiny. You know, and I would think that everybody in their life wants to create greatness in some aspect. You know, and what I do with people, I teach courses and training in nutrition all over the world. I'm the vice president of the United States Personal Trainers Association.
No, excuse me. Now that, so let me have that name of the organization again.
It's the United States Personal Trainers Organization.
Yes.
And I teach courses all over the world in nutrition and certifying trainers all over the world and at the university level. We're getting ready to travel to Poland to actually judge their Biggest Loser competition, do some seminars over there. And I travel all over the world, and I still do what I've done. But I wasn't one of those bodybuilders that sat on my titles. I had my education, I had my background. I wanted to go out and extend and give back.
Sure.
You know, becoming a world champion, say I'm a world champion. I wanted to give back. What did I learn? And like you say, you talked in the 70s and 80s. We knew nothing then. We've grown so much.
That's right.
We've expanded so much.
And of course, we didn't in the 70s, 80s. We thought we're pretty progressive. We think, oh, look at all this new stuff we're kind of doing. I mean, because bodybuilding was new, and protein powders was all new, and Bourgeois says, all that stuff. And in retrospect, some of the foods we ingested, supplements, were pretty kind of shaky theoretically compared to what we have now, but it's really pretty sophisticated.
Well, we're very sophisticated supplementation-wise. We have products that actually work. It's not just a gimmick. It's not a placebo effect. But, I mean, I know that some of the protein powders and some of the things I took back then are still digesting 50 years later. So we know that there was a trouble. They try to sneak out every so often. But, we've advanced so much nutritionally. And in the world that we have today, to have obesity, to have childhood diabetes. You and I never heard of childhood diabetes when we were kids.
Right.
I mean, parents have got to learn to control. Rather than taking control and teaching their kids and teaching them well and being there for them, they treat them with things that are going to hurt them and kill them eventually by giving them sugars and treats and sweets. And we make that the essential part of, you do good, I'll give you this. You do good, I'm not going to give you something healthy. You do good, I'll give you ice cream. You do good, I'll give you cookies. But we were kind of raised that way too. If you ate your whole dinner,
right,
which was too much to eat, and you were stuffed, you got dessert, but you had to eat the whole dinner and stuff yourself, so they'd give you dessert. Then you'd stuff that down.
Right.
So we wonder why we have this enigma of people overeating, and people look at me, they'll say, Mike, you weigh 225 pounds, you're in great shape at your age and stuff like that, but the bottom line is I don't eat big meals. I eat 6 to 7 times a day, small meals. And I was raised in a French family where we had sauces on top of cheese, and my grandmother was a gourmet cook. She didn't cook with sugars, but we had lots of sauces. The first time I ate a chicken breast and I saw what it was, because it wasn't coated with something, I wondered how it was going to get down. It kind of sat in my mouth, and you wondered how am I going to swallow this?
Was this when you were training as a bodybuilder?
No. This was before. Because when I was cycling, I was eating 7, 8, 9,000 calories a day, riding a bike 300 miles a week, and and then as we learn, but it's a matter of when do we stop learning? When do you want to stop learning? If you're sitting on your couch and you're out of shape, you don't feel good. Because I have an analogy. If you don't know the difference between feeling good and feeling bad, then feeling bad is feeling good.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes. A lot of people, they just feel awful. Here's something I discovered with the exercise I do. You can feel sick. Your back hurts. You think, oh, God, my back hurts. And then, of course, your back doesn't hurt. You think, oh, my back doesn't hurt. But sometimes when you do exercises, you think, oh, my back actually feels good, which is something that the average person that you think, oh, no, you're teasing me saying that's not true. No, it is true. When you eat carefully, when you exercise, you realize you can feel better. The average person says, no, I eat Burger King, not to cast aspersions, and I feel fine. But my attitude is if you eat organically grown different stuff, you realize, no, you can actually feel better only through direct personal experience. Some people say, oh, I don't need to exercise with you, Mike. I don't need to do that. But when they do it, they realize, oh, no, I was wrong. I had no experience. I didn't know what I was talking about. When I exercise with you, Mike, I see I feel better. People need information, and then they need experience.
Well, I mean, the whole idea, why do we have this show? The number one paid for thing in the world today is information.
Right.
Okay, it's an information society, and people are looking. They're going, well, I'm starving myself. I'm not losing weight. I'm not looking good. My skin doesn't look good. This doesn't. This is falling. That's falling. Things are south rather than north. And the reality is that you're not taking control of the situation. Because once you hit like 35 years old, and follow me, people, I'm gonna be very simple. Your body goes into a state called sarcopenia, where you actually start losing muscle size to the tune of 8 to 10% every 10 years. So if you start losing muscle size, and it's not harming you, not that you're dying, but as you start to go into that state of sarcopenia, you lose motor units. Okay, motor units are simply a nerve that innervates a certain amount of muscle fiber. You start losing muscle fiber, you get smaller. If you get in the gym and you train with weights, you fight that syndrome off so the skin doesn't get loose. You maintain the muscle density. Right. Remember one thing, you can sit at home, you can do these quote unquote diets. I hate that word, I told you that. But the bottom line is you're on a dead end road because it's not going to enhance what you're doing. And if you're not training, the only thing that burns calories is muscle. Fat takes no calories to survive. A pound of fat takes up 3 to 5 times the space of a pound of muscle. So if you put on 5 pounds of muscle in the same place that 1 pound of fat, you've enhanced your metabolism a couple hundred to 300 calories a day in an active state. You will be leaner and smaller doing that because you're burning up the fat and adding muscle. Mm-hmm. So you're adding more density to your body. You need to create that environment. Then the skin's not going to get loose. You're not going to feel like you're falling apart. Everything's going south. Right. You need to train with weights. Cardio is not the answer. Cardio is something you do to keep the heart strong in conjunction with what you train. Right. But if you want to burn calories, cardio elevates your metabolism for 3 to 4 hours. When you train with weights, because your cardiovascular system has to recover, and very few people push hard on cardio. They do long periods of time. Your cardiovascular system has to recover, so you have a metabolism boost of maybe 3 to 3.5 hours. Now you train with weights hard. The skeletal system, the muscular system, the central nervous system, and the cardio system all have to recover. Your metabolism is elevated for 12 to 15 hours. Do you want your metabolism elevated for 12 to 15 or 3? Right. So cardio is something you do with the heart, but your heart's working no matter how you're exercising. Get to the gym, go out, walk fast, do whatever you got to do. But don't sit on your couch and wonder if things are just turn around by some magical formula that you're going to pick up the health food store. It's not going to happen. But you're right. Eating organically, eating clean makes the body work more efficiently. You wouldn't put sludgy, dirty oil into your car. So why are you putting it into your body? Right. You don't have an analogy. In a car, you have gas, you have transmission fluid, and you have oil. That's the protein, fats, and carbohydrates in our body. Okay? The gas, transmission, fluid, and oil. What can you take out of a car? Can you take the oil out? The car will be lighter. What will happen? It'll burn up. Lighter, right. Can you take transmission fluid out? It won't go anywhere. Can you take gas out? It's definitely not going anywhere. But we will take carbs out. We will take fats out. And, you look at carbs. Carbs are your primary source of fuel. Mm-hmm. Carbs are your primary source of fuel. They're protein sparing. They help to maintain muscle tissue. They aid in fat metabolism. It's the only food that your brain and central nervous system will assimilate. But we'll cut our carbs out and wonder why we can't think anymore. Right. There are logical answers, Josh.
Right. No. Now that you are a mature man, do you train men who are your age, who 20, 30, or 40 years ago would have maybe laughed, and do you find that there's a big client base for that now, that maybe these men 20, 30, 40 years ago wouldn't have done this, but now you're working with men your age who are looking for you for guidance, for wellness and longevity, not so much bodybuilding, they're not competing, but they're looking for good body, but wellness and longevity. Is that the focus of your career now?
Well, I think, I most of my clientele is female, okay? Oh. But I have males and females, they're in that age group. And they're looking at better lives. Yes, they're looking for longevity. They're the baby boomers that took drugs and drank and partied in the 60s and 70s. And they're saying, hey, some of those years that I lost, can I gain them back? Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Turn your life around. Turn your mind around. Think differently. Look differently. If you look at things differently, the things you see will be different.
Yes.
Plain and simple. And obviously, I have sitting right next to me my girlfriend and the lady in my life, Katrina, who's sitting here with us right now, and those of you that can see, are viewing this right now. Can you stand up for a second, Katrina? You stand up for a second, Katrina? You've got the before shots too, don't you?
Yeah.
Back there?
We have the shots.
Katrina is in 2006 weighed 340 pounds.
Katrina, are you 5'9"?
5'7".
5'7", okay.
Yeah, she weighed 340 pounds, and she's lost over 200 pounds. Okay, in the last year, using a product that we're very proud of. In my career, I had some major sponsorships, and she's gone on my nutritional program, obviously, and my training program, which is not hours and hours a day. It's just doing things right, get in the gym for an hour, get out of there, let the body recoup and recover, feed yourself properly, you're going to get there. And I've had many companies come to me over the years and say, hey, Mike, look, why don't you endorse our products? Well, I'm not going to endorse things I don't believe in.
Right.
Well, Dr. Dean Tornabene, who is a formula.
What's his name?
Dean Tornabene. His company is Designed by Dean. He has a product that he's developed. He's one of the top herbologists in the world. Okay, he's a genius. I mean, if you look at exercise equipment, ab rollers, ab rockers, Dean invented almost all that. He's formulated stuff for some of them.
Now you know those. You rattle them off. I don't know. What are those? What is the?
There's some of the exercise equipment you see on TV. You know what it does? It gets people to do something at their house rather than doing nothing. But Dean developed a product called Thermal Sculpt. Okay.
Thermal Sculpt.
Yes, and it has the fat burning qualities of some of the other products, but this enhances the endocrine system without speeding you up, without causing jitteriness, without burning out your adrenals. And I've used it for 2.5 years. She's used it for 2.5 years, and in the last 1.5, 2 years, she's lost almost 80 pounds of that weight, and she feels good and feels. So the way I look at it, if somebody's going to preach a supplement to you or preach a vitamin to you, I mean, the only person I've ever endorsed in 40 years is Dean. Okay, and I just believe in his products. I believe in what he does. He's a master scientist. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't develop products just to develop products. It's not about that. He's very wealthy. He doesn't need the money, but he develops products to benefit people. And we're looking at this, and we're getting benefits with people that have diabetes. We're getting benefits with people that have problems with ADD because he has herbs in there to help you to focus. I mean, you know, and it's an amazing, amazing thing when you get to the point where you have something that's actually benefiting people. Because as you know, Josh, most of the stuff out there on the market, it's just to take your money. It doesn't really benefit you. It doesn't really.
Well, there is good stuff, and there's also a lot of silly stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they say people look. It's a multi-billion-dollar business,
right?
And people don't get in there with the most genuine attitudes and genuine respect
some people
for
are just
what
business
they're doing.
guys, and you got to watch them and see what their track record is.
Yeah. So we're very excited about Thermal Sculpt and about what's going on with the company. And I've been working with Dean for I'd say over 30 years.
And Thermal Sculpt is put out by who again?
It's Designed by Dean.
And who sells that design?
Designed by Dean. It's Dean's formulation. Dean formulated.
But which shop sell it? Do all the independent
No,
stores?
this is more. It's not at multi-level. It's a direct distributorship because it's a hard. It would be a product you wouldn't want to sit on a shelf with a bunch of other products.
Sure.
That because I don't like to call it a fat burner. I like to go. We actually call it. It's a trainer in a bottle. It makes you feel better. You look better. You start dropping the body fat. It suppresses the appetite some, not to where you can't eat, but when you sleep at night, you sleep like a baby. So it's not one of those things where you're all jacked up and So it's just a great product. It's something I fully endorse and something I love, something I've used, something I will continue to use, and all my clients do too.
What's the name once again?
Thermal Sculpt.
And let's say, for example, Katrina. How does Katrina use that product?
Katrina, go ahead and tell them.
I take it every day, every morning. It's part of my group of supplements.
One capsule, 2 capsules? How many capsules?
I take one in the morning.
With breakfast?
Yes. Well, not always. Sometimes I'll just, if I'm in a hurry, I'll take it before I actually get to my breakfast, with just coffee. I don't get jittery from it. I'm calm and focused, and it just kind of gives you a general feeling of well-being.
Oh.
I don't understand how all the formula works, but I know that he specifically put that in there to be part of the overall effect of the supplement. I do think this is the easiest I've ever taken weight off, and I've been on this long journey. I started losing weight in 2006, long before I met Mike. I was already losing weight, but I was doing it in very unhealthy ways.
Based on what you knew at the time.
What I knew at the time. I also should tell you that I thought I was at my goal. When I met Mike, I thought that I was looking pretty good. I'd already lost 100 pounds. Little did I know. I was going to meet
what are you weighing now, can I ask?
Mr. Universe.
What do you weigh now?
Right now, I still have a little bit to lose. I hate to
say
this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wrong question. I'm sorry.
Okay, I will tell you that in 2006, I was a size 28 or 3X if I was buying a tent.
Okay, right.
And now I'm a size 2.
A size 2?
I'm a size 2.
Okay, good for you.
And a year ago, I thought I was at my goal. I thought I was at a size 10, and I thought that's where I wanted to be, and I would be at my best. And in this past year, I've gone from a 10 to a 2, which is bigger than I dreamed.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
yeah.
Well, you must have good coaching. That's what I can say, and
it gets me
desire.
emotional.
No, it's for sure. No,
because my goal,
right.
I kept making new goals, and I didn't even realize that it was possible for me.
No,
So,
it's nice when
I'm
you.
sorry.
No, it's not a problem.
It's really been.
It's powerful. I mean, our physical ability, it's powerful, and sometimes you think, oh my God, I was there, and in retrospect, that was not a great time for me, and now things are going better, and I know I have more information. It seems so simple. After you know it always is simple.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not 20 years old either,
Right.
you know,
Right.
when I started, and I really never thought that I would be where I am today at this time in my life and doing what I'm doing and you know, just being so happy and healthy and have so many plans on the table, one of them being to get show ready. You know, I've been so inspired by watching Mike do his work and, you know, what he does with his competitive athletes. It amazes me.
Were
And
you,
I
were you an
watch
athlete
them.
in high school? You compete in high school? Do you do anything in high
Oh,
school?
no.
No, nothing.
No. I was always a chubby girl, but you know, I got my weight down in my 20s, and I was, you know, I thought I was hot stuff. And then some things happened, and for reasons we won't go into, I did gain a lot of weight.
Right.
And I was, you know, laying on my couch one day thinking I'm gonna die.
Right.
I need to do something.
Right.
And I was mid 40s, and I was a single mom with 2 kids, and I decided I had to do something drastic, or else I wasn't going to be around to see them grow up.
Right.
So I started my journey, and
Excuse me, you met Mike on a blind date. Is that true? I don't want to
yeah, I met him
make
on
a
a
joke
blind.
there. Met him on a blind date.
I met him on a blind date,
Uh-huh.
and when I did meet him, I won't go into details or anything, but when I met him, I'd already lost 100 pounds.
Mhm.
So in my mind and in my perspective,
Right.
I was really hot stuff. And so I
Uh-huh.
got, you know, my makeup was all right, you know, I was all, you know, I was in a size 14 girls, so you know that that's not super small, but to me it was. I was a 28.
Right.
So I was all stuffed in like a big size 14 sausage, and all my makeup was great, and my hair was great, and I walked in like I owned the place.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Well,
was
it's nice
just,
to have a positive attitude. It's a
yeah,
good thing.
really, I
Positive
just didn't know any
attitude's
better.
good. Uh-huh.
I had no idea that I was walking in to meet Mr. Universe. You know, that's just, you know, the cosmic
Right.
thing that happened.
Well-
and because I owned it, he just was charmed, I guess, because it was love at first sight for both of us. And we're going on 3 years now, and you know, he never pushed his lifestyle on me. As a matter of fact, I was like almost, you know, I was very, what's the word, intimidated by his lifestyle and his story. When I got to know it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. And I had to tell him where I'd been and where I was hoping to go and everything, and be really honest. And I was so afraid he was going to, you know, scream and run when I
Gotcha.
said what I'd been, and showed him my before picture, which I think that you've
Yes,
shown.
we're showing, I'm on camera, yes.
When I showed him that, it was like the scariest night of my life, and his reaction, immediate reaction, so I mean it was heartfelt, was that he was just incredibly proud of what I'd done, and you know, and he would support me in whatever I wanted to do, and he never forced his healthy lifestyle on me, but I told him I want to know, I want to learn, I want to do, you know, whatever I need to do, because I have further to go. But it wasn't until I saw him train his girls, his competitive girls, that I realized what he could actually do.
Right.
I mean, he made such a difference. And Veronica, I love you, girl. She's one of my favorites of his. But he changed her in such a way for her first contest ever in 4 months that it literally looked like she had a head transplant. I told everybody that's not her body, no way. And she had been an aerobics instructor for years, so she was in perfect condition to begin with. And so when I saw that was last year. A year ago, February, and that's when I said, I want to do what she does, and he said, honey, that's the diet I gave you a year ago. And so that's when I decided to
So
really
nutritional
get
program.
serious.
It's easy when you know how. Yeah.
It was a program that he gave me, but he never pushed me. I wasn't super dedicated. Well, when I saw what it really did, when I paid attention and I did what he says to do, it worked. And in the past year, I went from a size 10, which I thought I was at my goal. Remember, I told
Size
you
10,
that,
yeah.
to a size 2. And I never in my wildest dreams thought my bones were a size 2. I used to joke and say, when I go to sleep at night, I tell the kids to wake me up when I was a size 5. And that was my big joke for years and years. And here I am a 2, and I've still got a ways to go. I've got this goal before we go to Poland that I want to lose a lot. You know, I want to be kind of show ready in the next 4 months, just to prove I
Well,
can
Katrina,
do it.
it's a great illustrative story. For those of you just tuning in to Here's to Your Health, we're chatting with Mike Sable, Mr. America, Mr. World, Mr. Universe, and Katrina, one of his prize students and girlfriend. And
Love of
it's a-
his life.
It's a great love of his life. It's a great story, and people learn from first-person experience. I mean, to go from a size 14 to a size 2, I mean, I think everyone recognizes
From
that,
a size 28
that's
to
an
a size
accomplishment.
2.
It's a health accomplishment. It's a wellness accomplishment. It's an emotional accomplishment. I mean, like,
Amazing.
it's an accomplishment. And you didn't do it with drugs and surgery and weird stuff. It was just information and lifestyle, right? Information. You'd say, was that how you characterize it? Information and lifestyle.
You know, and I mean, yeah, it's information and it's lifestyle. And again, I'm the last person when I'm out of the gym or I'm on the streets going to judge you by your body. I judge people by who they are.
Right.
And I just don't. If you come into my world and you step into my world and say I want to do this, then I'm a different person. I'm a coach.
Right.
And I can be a nice coach and I can be a mean coach. You know, you step into my world. You want to do what's in my world. You do what I tell you to do. Don't fear from it. Just do it.
Right.
And you know, but and it's not just about her weight loss and her story is absolutely amazing. It's amazing to me. I've watched it happen. But on top of that, you know, it's not just about weight loss. You know, if you look at some of the girls that we work with, they're not looking for weight loss.
Right.
Like my young girl was very thin. My girl just won the state championship. She was 2 kids and a mom and big fat belly, or not fat belly,
right.
But you know, so it's a matter of you can
shape.
change wherever you're at. You know, that's extreme. What she did was extreme, and very few people have the heart and soul on a spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical basis to do that, because you don't believe in yourself. And we're looking for escapes. There's no escape. There's no escape. The bottom line is none of us get out of here alive. So while we're here, why don't we take this precious thing that God gave us, called our body, and take care of it? And right now, my goal is this: with my team, Zippers Bikini Kittens, is to build that up and make it good.
What's the name of your team again?
Zippers Bikini Kittens.
They
made that name. I didn't.
Name, really.
I'm not the head kitten. I'm still the zipper. I'm the zipper. The head kittens are the competitors.
Zipper, that's right.
But anyway, you know, I mean, we're building a great entity. They want to really move forward with this, and this is Mama Kitten right here. We're trying to build a great entity and get people to change, get people to step into life. Stop sitting outside and be on the outside looking in. Get into the game, you know, be a part of this life. Make a difference in life. It's never too late. It's never too late. You know, people give up, you know, and I think the nature of people, I mean, I look at life, I think like you do, Josh. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. When you talk about information on all my letterhead, everything you see, I have a saying on it. It says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's about time.
Very lovely, yeah.
You know, it's about time we start caring about ourselves and caring about other people. My deal now is I want to get out to thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, kids, adults, whatever, and make a difference in their lives. I mean, that's what I have to share. That's what I have to do. It's a gift I've been given. God blessed me with what I've been able to achieve in my life. So it's time to give back, to see the woman that's closest to me make that change, to see the people around me make these changes. We have the information.
And where are you off to? You said in the green room you're going to Poland to do a seminar?
Well, I'm going to actually go over to Poland, and they hired me to come over and actually judge their Biggest Loser competition, and obviously speak at the event and stuff like that. And they also have one of the biggest reality shows to help obese people, and they do an amazing job. I do that with Konrad Gaka out of Poland. He's one of the top sports representatives for the Eastern Bloc countries, and he's become a very good friend of mine. And we're going over there to help him enhance his program. He's actually certified through the United States Personal Trainers Association. He was certified through us, and he's very excited about that, because anything that comes from America to the Eastern Bloc, they love it. Oh, they love it. Are you kidding? I mean, it's like this is gold to them.
Right,
you know?
Sure, yeah.
So we want to make a difference. You know, I want to, you know, I thought I was kind of out of the competitive arena. Now I'm back in the competitive arena working with some amazing ladies. This lady sitting next to me wants to get up on that stage. To go from 340 to stepping on a stage, mind-boggling, something I couldn't understand. You know, from going there to being able to step on a stage, she'll do it. And you know, my girls range from 23 years old to 60. That are competing.
Right.
I mean, they're not just they're competing. You know, and that's going to make a huge difference out there. People have to visually see it. I hope today the people that are watching the show, you see the difference.
Do you want to mention, do you work out of one gym or several gyms?
Well, I work out of Woodland Hills Athletic Club. Woodland Hills Athletic Club. Right. We call it the WAC, WHAC. Okay. And you can get a hold of me there. Can I give out my email address?
Please.
My email address is very simple. Remember, I'm the zipper. It's getzipped, ZIPPED, getzipped @earthlink.net. Okay. You can also get a hold of me through the United States Personal Trainers Association. You type in USPTA or PTA online, and you can get a hold of me through them. So if you want to get a hold of me at Woodland Hills Athletic Club, get a hold of me online, and you can go to the site online, and it'll have all my information, everything that you want to do. I work with people all over the world through email, through everything. They compete. They send me their pictures. I send them their nutrition programs, their training programs, and they go out there and they win and they become great in life. It doesn't matter stepping on stage and winning a trophy. It's a matter of getting up and knowing, hey, I bettered my life. I made a difference. Because when you make a difference in you, all the people around you are affected.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen families go like this. Why do you do that? This is crazy. This is that. And then
Oh,
6
yeah.
months later, they're going, so what do I need to do that?
Right.
You know, you
right.
got to let people go through their spiral in their minds.
Right. That's true. Yes.
You know, but it's about why are we on this show? Why are we on this planet? You know, I think we're there to make a difference. I think we're there to make an impact and to build greatness.
As a young man, did you feel that you had teacherly ability, that you were an educator, or did you just evolve into that? Or even as a young guy, did other guys listen to you?
Well, my grandparents always told me I would never shut up.
Oh.
So I knew I had speaking ability, you know, and it's funny, that's that story. But yeah, I kind of knew. I kind of knew that I wanted to be a leader, you know, not that I would ever end up there. And obviously I've ended up in a pretty good spot. But it's really funny. I mean, I started doing some motivational speaking. I've worked with some of the top speakers in the world, and I do motivational speaking all over the world, corporations, everything. I've been doing that for 25 years. And I have a pretty powerful message. I mean, all motivational speakers steal from everybody, you know.
Oh, sure.
But I have my
Sure,
own
learn from
story.
others.
I have my own way of applying it, and it's coming from a world champion athlete. I'm not tooting my horn, but I have a premise I've based, and I look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I've had them all. And some of the greatest defeats in my life have been the greatest victories. So, I mean, and my grandpa taught me when I was a little boy. My grandfather was a tremendous athlete. He said, Michael, you learn to win by losing. Because if you never lose, how do you know what winning is? You know, because it used to devastate me if I lost anything in any sport. And, you know, and that rings true in my mind. I mean, these little things that I've been taught in my head, you know, you got to care. You got to be able to portray that. You got to mean what you're saying. People have to feel it. And I think God gave me that gift. When I go and speak, I think people believe what I say. And I represent what I do. You know, so it's not like I say you do this and I'll do something else. You know, so I think it's very, very powerful that we start spreading the word of wellness and health and nutrition, not diets and overtraining and doing crazy gimmicks. I mean, the bottom line is it all comes back to basics. We learn to crawl, walk, run, jog. Well, the bottom line is in nutrition and everything, there's no magic secret. There's things that help you, like you said. You got a great nutritional products out there. You have great ability. Things like wheatgrass with great mineral content and keeping the body clean and getting the fiber in there. I mean, you know, I look at people say, you're eating no fiber. Why is your system backed up? You mean women will come to you and say, where are you bloated? They're bloated in their lower stomach. Why are you bloated there after you eat when your stomach, the little J-shaped organ is up here? Because you have so much plaque built up in your intestinal linings from all the negative things you've been eating, with the wheat, the soy, whatever. You've never cleansed your system. You need 4 things to digest food. You need oil, water, bacteria, and fiber. People say, where does bacteria come from? They say probiotics. Well, that's a great concept, except where were probiotics 25 years ago? Okay? See, what creates that intestinal bacteria? Fiber. That's why you need fiber. And you need to keep that system clean. Right. We basically have backed up systems, like having backed up toilets in our house, and we're wondering why they're not functioning well. Clean them out.
People are not thrilled to hear that, but that seems to be completely true.
Well, don't be thrilled to hear that if you've got a backed up toilet, because that's what you do.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the reality, and I don't want to slap anybody in the face, but yeah, I do.
No. As a young man, I read Bernard Jensen. I'm a big Bernard Jensen fan.
Yes.
And Jensen used to say, bowels are central to good health. It was one of his great lines, and I use that line all the time because I'm again big Bernard Jensen fan.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's funny because Frank Zane, who was 3 times Mr. Olympia, told me many years ago, probably back in the 70s, your bowel movements will tell you how healthy you are.
Right.
If they're regular and they're good and consistent, then you're healthy. If they're not, there's something going wrong in your system, and it really is true.
Right.
It really is true. I mean, so you look at the human body. The human body has a way of processing things. And if we just understood the digestive system, we understood what goes on in the digestive system and how to make it work more efficiently. I mean, you look at the digestive system, we have the esophagus, which is a little wavy shaped organ, muscular organ that breaks the food down into little tiny pieces called bolus that go into the stomach, and the stomach breaks it down farther. And it goes in that small intestine that's 22 feet long. And it breaks down farther, and if you're eating an orange, it's taking the vitamin C out. If you're eating chicken, it's absorbing the protein, the intestinal villi, and then it goes through the large intestine about 5 feet long and into the colon, and we know where it goes from the colon. But the body is absorbing nutrients through that whole process, all the way to the end. And if we get our bodies clean and our bodies absorb nutrients, we don't have hypoglycemia. We don't have blood sugar fluctuations. We can correct diabetes. Right. We can correct these problems. I'm not saying if you're an insulin-dependent diabetic, you're going to always be off insulin. You can make it better.
Right. That's very fair and completely accurate in my opinion.
Yes. And I'm saying, just take a minute. We know what kind of gas transmission fluid, oil goes on our cars. We know we need to update our computers. Well, try updating the body. Put that CD in there and let's do a little bit of an update here and make a difference. Get off the couch. And you can sit and you can make excuses. And I tell all my clients, look, you have excuses for your reasons and reasons for your excuses. I don't want to hear any of them.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
I think if people bump into you and they get the information and then they have the practical experience, they realize that you're a good teacher and that it's easy because you had a good teacher.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I had a good teacher,
Yeah,
and the bottom line is...
No, you being the good teacher. In other words, sometimes people think when something goes real well, they think, oh, that just happened on its own. If you're a real good teacher, people just think, oh, that just happened on its own. They've kind of forgot that, no, you have been guiding them and keeping an eye on them, and that's why it's going good. But they might not even acknowledge you, but you know you're a good teacher when it's happening, and they think, oh, it just happened on my own.
Well, the reality is, like I say, I mean, I can be a tough guy to get along with. I can be abrupt when I'm teaching or coaching, but it all comes from a space of knowledge. When we go back and say bodybuilding, like you talked about the 70s. Well, the reason you guys today in bodybuilding, fitness, figure, whatever you're doing, are not making the mistakes that we made then, those are the mistakes I invented.
Right.
I invented those mistakes, and we've corrected them over the years.
Would you like to mention, by way of a light moment, you want to mention something you think, okay, that was dopey at the time. You want to talk about it or not?
Oh, some of the crazy. I'm not going to use certain words because I could be much more direct.
It's a family show.
If I go back, my first competition I won.
Yeah.
I went from 210 pounds to 166. Follow me now. Listen carefully. In 41 days, I ate 0 carbs, fish, chicken, eggs that I made in a crock pot. Okay, you do not want to allow me to cook. That is not my forte. So everything was like rubber. And this is what I ate. And if I didn't lose a pound a day, I would put a plastic sweatsuit on in Valencia in 110-degree weather and ran till I was ready to pass out.
So you committed to winning no matter what. Okay,
no, I should have been committed, period. But, that was the mentality. We didn't have the knowledge today.
That was the mentality, right, for sure.
Now I try to teach the best of my knowledge. Do I know everything? I'm learning every day.
Right.
No, I don't know everything. Will this evolve over the next 10 years? Will I be teaching different things? Yes, I will. Because it's evolving. You know that.
Yes. Oh, definitely,
we talked earlier about you being a vegan and then realizing, hey, that wasn't a healthy thing for me to do.
That wasn't working.
No, because you were not giving your body what it needed, what it was saying, I'm crying for.
It wasn't enough.
No. So, my youngest competitor this weekend, they say she was a vegan. Mm-hmm. She switched everything around. All of a sudden, she looks amazing. She feels good. Wow, what a change. God gave us gallbladders and bile and stuff like that digest animal fats. I don't understand why he gave us that if we're supposed to eat just vegetables. Right. I'm not hammering vegetarians.
No, I know you're not.
I'm just giving you my perspective. Right. You can think I'm crazy, but the bottom line is, like I say, I've been healthy all my life. I've done pretty well in my life. I'm making a difference in other people's lives, and hopefully I'm making a difference today in somebody's life out there. And if it's one person or 1,000, if it's just one, my grandma told me when I was a little boy, if you make a difference in one person's life in your lifetime, that's considerable, you're a successful man. So I look and go, I've worked with thousands.
Yes, I completely agree. We've been chatting with Mike Sable. What did it just call Zipper or just Mike Sable? Will you prefer?
Mike the Zipper Sable.
Mike the Zipper Sable.
Yes.
And Katrina. Mike, once again, please give us your contact information.
My contact information, if you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me through ProPTA. Just type in ProPTA online.com and you can get a hold of me through them. My direct email address is getzipped, GETZIPPED, @earthlink.net. And I'm sure they can get a hold of me through the show if they wanted to here, couldn't they too?
Great. Yeah. And what's the name of the club you work out in?
I'm at Woodland Hills Athletic Club in Woodland Hills. Beautiful, beautiful club. We took on a new owner a couple years ago, Eric, who's fantastic, phenomenal, and he's made that gym probably one of the best gyms, best atmospheres that I've ever been in my life. It's fabulous.
Fantastic.
It's fabulous.
Fantastic.
Yes.
You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live television network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Elena, inviting you to join me every Wednesday at noon for Elena's Beauty Talk and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Y'all ready for this? Yeah!
Hi, I'm Jerry Bell of the Daz Band in New Birth,
And I'm Brahima Arsalan.
inviting you to join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Time for Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics, baby.
Join us as we play some of the greatest hits of soul and R&B and listen in to interesting discussions with the legends of the music.
So don't you forget, join us on the Jerry Bell's R&B Soul Classics. You'll love it. Exclusively on latalklive.com.
You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio.
Or watch us and listen directly at latalklive.com, baby.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure.
This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk, baby. We are music.
Hands can do incredible things. They made every sound in this piece of music. But nothing compares to using them to help save a life. If an adult suddenly collapses, call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of their chest until help arrives. It's called hands-only CPR, and it's recommended by the American Heart Association. Visit handsonlycpr.org today. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is Dr. Mark Halpern, an Ayurvedic practitioner, Ayurvedic healer. Mark Halpern, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you, Josh. It's a pleasure to be here.
And now you just told me, what is the correct title you prefer to use?
Well, I'm a clinical Ayurvedic specialist, which is the highest level of training that you receive here in the United States.
I see. And you were also a graduate chiropractor.
That's right.
And where'd you go to school?
I went to Palmer West.
Oh, Palmer.
Yeah,
It's one of the classic schools.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And what prompted you to study Ayurveda?
Well, it's been a passion of mine throughout my life to understand the cause of suffering. Why do we get sick? Why are people unhappy? And that is a journey for me that in many ways began when I was about 13 years old. I became aware of the suffering around me. And one day my dad asked me, he said, Mark, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, Dad, what I really want to be is happy. And that...
Really?
Yeah,
that's a
what I
profound thing
said.
for a young man to say. Good for you.
You know, prior to that, I said that I wanted to play center field for the New York Yankees, like my hero, Mickey Mantle.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, I answered truthfully for the very first time in my life. And that became the guiding light for what I was going to do the rest of my life. And that sent me on a journey that eventually led me to chiropractic, and then from there led me to study other forms of alternative medicine, Chinese medicine, homeopathy, and herbalism. And it was really when I crossed paths with Ayurveda that I felt like I truly understood the cause of disease, the cause of suffering. And I knew when I found Ayurveda that I would be committing the rest of my life to the development of the science of Ayurvedic medicine here in the United States.
And where do you practice now?
I practice up in Nevada City, California, at the California College of Ayurvedic Medicine.
So you're on faculty there?
Well, I'm the founder of the college.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I did not really know that. Yeah. And how many people are at the university?
Well, we have at any given time about 200 students who are studying Ayurvedic medicine. And
good for you.
We have programs that are in the classroom. Some of the programs are broadcast live over the internet, and we have students from all over the world who are broadcast into the room while we're teaching. And then we also have our distance learning program where students are connected with a master teacher, and the master teacher guides them through the curriculum. And then they join our internships when they get into their third level of training.
Wow, you have 200 students now. That's obviously must be a big chunk of your time taken up with a university that size.
Well, I've been developing that university since 1995. And we've been growing readily as Ayurvedic medicine is growing in popularity, really not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And it does take up a fair amount of my time. I also make time to travel. I'm also a yoga teacher in the Shivananda tradition. Uh-huh. And I teach workshops and seminars also all around the world at their yoga centers, as well as some other yoga programs. Ayurvedic medicine, you may know, is the healing side of yoga. It is the part of the yogic tradition that applies to the healing process. And in India, doctors of Ayurvedic medicine are fully licensed, trained practitioners to manage the broad scope of Ayurvedic medicine, the broad scope of disease that individuals suffer from. So we work at our clinic, we work with everything from ulcerative colitis to Parkinson's disease, Lyme's disease patients, heart disease patients, cancer patients. We see it all at our clinic.
And what's the name of your clinic once again?
Well, it's the California College of Ayurveda, and the clinic is the Center for Mind-Body Medicine.
And where is that center?
It's in Nevada City, California.
If I might interject,
Please.
We actually have a satellite campus here in this area, actually in the LA area as well.
Are you one of the professors?
Yes, I am.
I'm sorry, I missed your first name.
Marisa Larson.
And what subject? What's your subject?
I teach the entire curriculum, actually, in all aspects of it.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
And again, 200 students is that's very impressive for this kind of progressive work, isn't it? I mean, it's an accomplishment. It's hard to build anything, isn't it?
Well, it is. And we are the largest school of Ayurvedic medicine outside of India. We were also the first school of Ayurvedic medicine to begin to train practitioners outside of India. And so as Marisa was mentioning, we have our main campus up in Nevada City. That's where we have our clinic. We have inpatient and outpatient clinic. And down here in Southern California, we have a satellite campus in Cerritos. And there in Cerritos, we also train practitioners in the first 2 levels of their training. And then they join with our internship programs up in Nevada City for their continued training.
And it is the internship program that's one of the things that allows the California College of Ayurveda to be unique in Ayurvedic education.
And so the students who come there learn to treat and heal patients through direct experience with older, more experienced Ayurvedic practitioners.
That's right. Of course, they start out in the classroom. They start out with academic training. And then once they reach the 3rd level of their training, they start their internships. And their internships are all supervised by experienced staff. And so no patient is ever treated without the treatment plan being approved. In fact, we make all of the medicines individually for every patient. We have an herbal pharmacy with 200 raw materials, and all the medicines are made individually. And the students learn how to design the formulations, how to make the formulations under the guidance of their supervisors. And then they're able to administer that care. And then we follow up on it on a regular basis, obviously.
Let me ask you a specific. Neem seems very popular now in their natural food stores, and I don't remember neem being popular 10 years ago at all, but now, past 3, 4, 5 years, people think neem, and they like it very much. Can you make a few comments on neem?
Well, sure.
Because it's Ayurvedic, is it not?
Well, it's interesting. It's an herb from India.
Mm-hmm.
And Ayurveda really refers to how you use the medicine rather than where the medicine is from. So there are medicines that we use in Ayurveda from the United States. There's medicines we use from India, from South America. Ayurveda is a paradigm as opposed to a place. So it is the traditional medicine of India. So you're right, the popularity of Ayurveda brought over many new herbs, and neem is one of those very popular herbs. But to be Ayurvedic, you have to know the nature of a person first. Who are you treating? You have to know the unique nature of the disease. And then you need to know the nature of the medicine and how will that interact with the nature of the patient and the nature of the disease, so that every treatment is individualized and we can predict the interaction. And because we can predict the interaction, then we're able to know how to use that medicine in order to get the maximum benefit from it. So that's really what the science of Ayurveda is about. Now, neem is a great herb, and it's often used as an antimicrobial, among other things. So antibacterial, improves the functioning of the immune system. It helps skin problems as well. It can be used topically. It can be taken internally. And it's a bitter herb. And so it also helps from our understanding of the physiology of the body. It cools down the body. So if you have inflammation in your body, if you have red rashes in your body, it's very beneficial.
And you use neem in your practice at the university. You use it topically and internally both.
That's right. Yeah, we do. We have the neem leaves at our university and in our pharmacy. And then we're able to...
I've never actually heard of using neem leaves. How do you use them?
Well, a variety of ways. First of all, you can grind them up and turn them into a powder. And then the powder can be taken internally in a capsule form, as an example. Okay. Now, the next thing that you can do is you can take that and you can put it in water. You take the leaves, you put them in water, you make a tea out of it. Now, it's a very bitter tea, okay? But you can do that, and it's a wonderful medicine as an herbal tea. And you have to know the dose, you have to know how to use it. Now, the next thing you can do is you can add oil into that tea. And then what you can do is you can warm it up until you evaporate the water out of the tea, and all you're left now is with the oil and the active ingredients of the herb, and now you have a medicated oil of neem. And so these are all different ways that you can use it. And there's other ways.
And you teach that to your students and to your patients?
Yeah, we do. Well, we teach it to our students. Our students take classes in herbal medicine making. And so they take classes in how to make salves and how to make oils and how to make all the different preparations. In fact, one of our goals is that when our students graduate, they will all have their own small pharmacy in addition to their clinical practices.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, your program sounds really progressive. I think it sounds just fantastic. You know, I think there's a real need for it. And where do your students come from? What's the student base?
Oh, our students come from all over, really. You know, in Nevada City only makes up about 10% of our students come from the local area.
Nevada City is, I don't want to characterize it. It's a progressive town, is it not? It's a progressive town. Is that a slander? Should I say that?
No, that is a compliment.
Okay.
That is a compliment. So, yeah, it's a very progressive town, and there's a lot of beautiful people with great energy in that town, and it's a destination place for progressive individuals, and it's an open-minded place, not only to different healers, but also different spiritual traditions. And so it's I would call it a fertile ground of new ideas. Yeah.
And can I ask you on personal, when did you show up there? 1975? When did you show up there in Nevada City?
No, I showed up in 1993. Yeah.
And you just decided, I resonate. I'm happy here. Is that it? You thought I feel comfortable here? You know, I always want to be comfortable.
I decided that I wanted to move to Nevada City because I thought it was a great place to raise a family. I thought it was wonderful. Great schools.
Really?
Great environment. Rivers and mountains, lakes, an incredible art and music scene there. And I thought, I've just landed in heaven.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you. And let me ask you another one that's become popular, frankincense. Frankincense, is that, whose tradition is that originally, frankincense?
Well, frankincense comes from more than one tradition. It's been used in India. It's been used in the Middle East. It's been used for its aromatic qualities. It's also being used now as a medicine as well. So I don't know, again, that you can lay claim to it for a region because there are many countries in which it grows in. But again, it's how you use it. So when we look at frankincense, we understand who it would be good for and who it wouldn't be good for. And we would want to know the nature of the person, and we call that their Ayurvedic constitution. That's the nature of the person. What is the unique balance of energy in that person? So that's your constitution. And then there is what is the unique balance of energy in the disease or the imbalance that's present in them. And then what do we know about the energetics, the properties of frankincense, and does it match up? And only part of that is the pharmacological action. Another part of it is whether or not the herb or the medicine is heating or cooling, whether it's moist or dry, whether it's going to, well, in other words, what qualities is it going to impart into that person? And we're able to use it in that way. Today, they're using frankincense. We're using frankincense internally as an anti-inflammatory. There's been some tremendous research that has come out showing how it works.
Frankincense as an anti-inflammatory.
Frankincense, yeah. And most.
What's an anti-inflammatory?
Anti-inflammatory means that it reduces inflammation in the body. It's cooling. So if you have a sore shoulder, if you have a sore back, frankincense is one of those herbs when taken internally that can reduce that inflammation. Now, they study it just like they would study any other drug, and so frankincense has been shown to be what's called in biochemistry a COX-2 inhibitor, and so it interferes with the cascade of events that result in pain and result in inflammation. So this works similarly to aspirin in that mechanism, but there's other mechanisms that it works within. So under the medicine name, it's most commonly called Boswellia.
Right,
so
people don't realize that. Yes.
Yeah, so if you look at it in a medicine in the supermarket, you'll see Boswellia. You probably won't see them call it frankincense.
Right. And I have been told that frankincense also, on some very serious levels, might even be good for some patients with cancer. Have you found that in your thinking?
There are a lot of herbs that are being shown in vitro in order to destroy cancer cells. To allow cancer cells to actually destroy themselves. There's a mechanism within a cancer cell that should allow it to destroy itself called apoptosis. And in a cancer cell...
How do you pronounce that?
Apoptosis.
I see.
Isn't that a great word? Apoptosis.
I thought it was apoptosis. Thank you for... How do you pronounce it?
Apoptosis.
Okay.
Yeah, you could call it apoptosis. It depends on what part of the country you're in. So anyway, so it destroys the cell. So it destroys the cell, and there are... a variety of herbs today that are being tested and shown to re-trigger the ability of the cell to kill itself. So I'm not familiar with the research on frankincense with that. There has been some research on turmeric with that as an example. But there's a wide variety of medicines that are used in cancer treatment.
This is a big question, but what is the healing diet that you at this university like to promote to the students who are going to become practitioners of wellness? Can you kind of outline a basic good diet that you feel is healthy for us?
You know, that is such a great question. I'm glad you asked that. In my book, Healing Your Life, I talk about...
This is your book right here.
This is my book, yeah. Healing Your Life, Lessons on the Path of Ayurveda.
And who published this, by the way?
It was published by Lotus Press.
Oh.
Yeah. And so...
Isn't that Santosh's group?
That's right, Santosh Krinsky,
right.
Yes. And so... in the book, I talk about how the diet that is proper for each person is different. In other words, you'll never see in Ayurveda an individual standing up and saying, everybody must do this. You know, you see that with every fad diet that's out there. Right. And it works for some people. It does. Every diet that's out there works for somebody, but no diet works for everybody. And so Ayurveda is a path of understanding what food program, what diet is going to work for you as a unique individual based on your constitution, which is the balance of energy in your body, which we understand through the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. The balance of energy in your body, and what foods will interact with you in a way that's going to help you to restore not only proper body weight, but optimum health at the same time. Now, there are some general guidelines. Sure, of course, we would prefer to see people eat whole foods, less processed foods, organic foods. Of course, we would prefer that. Right. But which food? Ayurveda can predict whether or not peas or carrots will be better for you. How will it affect you? Ayurveda can predict whether or not you'll do better with wheat or quinoa. And so we're able to specify, create a specific diet unique for you. And that's the work that we do when we're working with people through their sense of taste, which is one of the senses we work with. Diet is a part of the overall treatment plan. there is a saying in Ayurveda that, the best medicine will not work if you don't have the right diet. You must have the right diet. And, if you have the right diet, you probably won't need medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark Halpern, it's been a great pleasure having you on Here's to Health. I hope to have you two come back very shortly. Once again, where is your school?
So the school is in Nevada City, California, and we're also you can take a virtual tour online at our website, which is www.ayurvedacollege.com. And of course, you can look me up, Mark Halpern, or my book, Healing Your Life, on any of the search engines in our school. My book and myself will come up.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for being guests today on the show. I very much appreciate it. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Oh, your skin looks great.
Thank you.
What's your secret?
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence.
Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence?
Yes, it's a beauty secret used since the time of the Greeks and Romans. The spa in Malibu told me about frankincense and myrrh by Ancient Essence, and now my skin is lovely.
Well, your skin looks great.
Call Ancient Essence at 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Call 1-800-627-9813. Discover the secret. Frankincense and myrrh oil by Ancient Essence. Discover the secret of beautiful skin. Available at fine spas and beauty centers.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dawn Christie inviting you to join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for my all-new show, The Dawn Christie Show. Join me as I discuss love, spiritual readings, your purpose, why am I born, what am I here to do. So don't forget to tune in The Dawn Christie Show at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Television Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My next guest, if you read the New York Times, you've seen his books. This is his new book, Dr. JeffreyLife as an MD. And he talks about wellness in a nice contemporary fashion. And Dr. Life is also 74 years of age, which is not terribly radical, except that these days, men who are 74, 75, or 85, people are listening to them as teachers. You don't have to be 25 anymore to be listened to, or 35 or 45 as a teacher. And Jeffrey Life talks about wellness ideas, exercise, careful diet, supplementation, and intelligent use of medicines in a very progressive way. Jeffrey Life, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you, Josh.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Good to be here.
If you don't mind, I'd like to comment on the fact that you are 74.
I am. Oh.
And this is important because a lot of people are of our age group. At 74, you're working and you think this is great, it's happy to be working. Whereas 30, 40, 50 years ago, if a man was 74, a woman, they were really considered old people.
That's right.
And now, largely, no, that's not the way we see each other.
No. We do not have to follow the same path that our dads did.
No, and we are very different. And if you don't mind, where did you go to medical school?
I went to the University of Iowa. And then I also got my PhD at the University of Michigan. So I have 2 doctorate degrees.
Yeah, and your PhD is in what subject?
In environmental toxicology.
Oh, I see. And that, I'm sure, no doubt, must have been a controversial subject when you were studying it years ago.
Very, very much. But I couldn't get a job because Nixon had cut back on all environmental spending. So I did what I really wanted to do, and that's go to med school.
I see. Oh, you got the PhD first?
Yes, I did it the hard way.
You did do it the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
You did do it the hard way. So now I ask, so the fact that you had that background on the problem with pesticides, insecticides, fungicides causing problems, and you knew this 30, 40 years ago, is that what led you to some extent to this progressive stance you have now in your book?
I think it played a part, for sure. But what really led me to end up with this book is my poor health when I was in my 50s, my late 50s. I was a practicing physician in Northeast Pennsylvania, and I was obese. I had abdominal obesity. I was ready to go on type 2 diabetic medication. I had coronary artery disease, didn't even know it. Would get short of breath just climbing a flight of steps. Mm-hmm. And that's when I learned about the Bill Phillips program, Body for Life. Mm-hmm. And so I entered that contest. My girlfriend, now my wife, Annie, said, you should enter this, Jeff. You can win this. So I entered it in 1998, the second year he had it, and I ended up winning the contest, and that's what really got me headed in this direction.
Now, but before you hit upon Bill Phillips' idea, when you were a practicing physician, did you see yourself as a progressive? Did you see yourself as a contemporary physician? And did you also see yourself as a guy who was not abusive of his body?
I don't really think I had time to think of any of that. I was just too busy practicing rural family practice, taking care of patients in the hospital, working ER, and I was just overwhelmed and let my health go. And it was really when I started learning more about the importance of diet and nutrition, I actually decided to go back and get a master's degree in nutrition. And
oh my goodness!
And that's because physicians just don't know hardly anything about nutrition and exercise. So that's when this whole transformation really started, back when I was 50, 58, 59.
And where'd you pick up the master's degree?
At Marywood University in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Wow, you have quite a background. And what do your colleagues say to you now? Well, the other MDs who many of your generation went to school with, etc., some of which I'm sure are still practicing, some of them may have retired. Do they think you went off the deep end? Are they? What do they think?
Well, today they don't. When I first started hormone replacement therapy 10 years ago for myself and became involved in that kind of medicine, most of my colleagues thought I was crazy. Right. My urologist told me I was definitely going down a bad path. But it's turned out that it was the right path.
Right.
And that's what my book's about, how important it is to not allow your hormone levels to get low as you age. If you end up with deficient hormones, you are destined to age rapidly, and you're at much greater risk for all the bad diseases that are killing us. Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, cancer.
Mm-hmm. And you work with now you have a clinic in Las Vegas that's well known.
That's right, Cenogenics Clinic in Las Vegas.
Cenogenics Clinic. Mm-hmm. And you and the program you outlined this is your second book, is it not?
That's right.
And your first book was a New York Times bestseller.
Yes.
And this book's out, 2 months?
About that, yes.
Right. So, and what's the name of your center again in Las
It's
Vegas?
Cenogenics. My center is Cenogenics-Dr.Life, and I work with my clinic is a part of the Cenogenics establishment, which has 25 centers scattered throughout the country.
Oh, I see. And men come to you, and you do blood work, and you do an evaluation?
Men and women. About 80% of my patients are men. And the plan that what we do is they sign up, we get blood work about 2 or 3 weeks before they come out. And I get all the traditional labs, but I also get some heart attack and stroke prevention labs that are markers. And then I get all their hormone levels. So when they come out to see me, I know all about their labs, and they fill out a questionnaire, and I review that. So I spend time talking to them about their lifestyle, their goals, and typically their goals are to change the course that they're headed in. These are successful people that suddenly realize that they are running out of energy, their sexual function is declining, they can't get rid of body fat, especially belly fat, so they start going through typically traditional medicine to find answers. And the answer, the question, what I'm told all the time is that these guys go to their family doctor, and their doctor says, well, you know, Joe, you're just getting old. It's part of the aging process. You just got to suck it up. Some of these patients will then ask for testosterone levels, and the doctor will look at the testosterone and say, well, you're normal, but what he doesn't say, or she doesn't say, is that you're bottom of the normal range. So that's when they come see me.
And so they get an answer from a physician that really is not a scientific answer, and kind of a nasty answer, isn't it?
Yes. You know, there's no reason that the second half of our life today can't be the best part of our life. That's what I'm all about.
And you know, that's actually that's fresh thinking, isn't it? That's really fresh thinking. Yeah.
You know, when my dad retired at age 65, they moved to Florida, and retirement in his generation really meant retirement. You go down to Florida and you just don't do anything.
Yes.
And I remember when I was he was about 70, about my age now. We went for a walk, and he really had trouble just walking around the block. Not because he had disease per se, but because he was deconditioned.
Right.
And it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his generation's fault. They just didn't know how important exercise and eating right and correcting hormone deficiencies really is.
And if I can put you on the spot personally, so you're 74 now, and you have important books that people read and listen to you now. And do you think you'll be working in 10, 15 years from now as a practicing physician?
I don't know if I'll be a practicing physician, but I definitely want to continue to be involved in publishing books and doing talks. I really want to start focusing more and more on giving talks, writing more books, developing my website.
And do you exercise, 3-4 times a week?
No, I exercise. I do something every day.
I see.
About an hour every day.
Hour every day? Oh, that's disciplined. Oh, okay.
And that's really about what it takes to, we're all going to age, but we don't have to get old. And if you want to avoid getting old, you got to do some form of exercise every day.
And you, in your book, you enjoy Pilates very much?
Yeah, I mean, Pilates really has turned me from a stiff old guy to a really very, very flexible guy. I'm more flexible now than I was ever in my life. And it's because I spend 3 hours a week meeting with my Pilates coach, and she puts me through all this stretching, and it's just amazing how much better I feel and how much better I move around. When people, as they age, you will get stiff, and it shows in your posture and the way you move around. And if you happen to stumble, you're going to fall and break something. But if you're flexible, you can avoid all this.
And in your book, you talk about foods that cause inflammation as being really something you want to avoid, inflammation being very bad for the body. What foods can you tell the listeners that they need to be cautious of using?
Well, probably the biggest cause of inflammation, and we're talking about silent inflammation, not inflammation that you can see or feel. This is silent, so it's deadly silence. And the thing that causes this the most is elevated levels of blood sugar and insulin.
Right.
So the first step for anyone that wants to decrease the amount of inflammation going on in their body is to avoid foods that jack up their blood sugar. And these are high glycemic carbohydrates.
Like soda.
Soda with sugar. Extremely bad. The typical American diet is very, very bad because people spend their day with their blood sugars going up and down, up and down, up and down, and this results in elevated levels of insulin. And elevated levels of insulin prevent people from getting rid of body fat and cause huge amount of inflammation.
When you talk to clients, and you get affluent men and women coming to see you at clinic in Las Vegas,
yes,
and you tell them not to use processed sugar and not to drink soda, do most of them say, "We never heard that before"? What do people say when you tell them that these days?
Well, it's much more than just soda. And
I know that.
It's
have they ever heard that before? Most of your clients,
no.
they never heard it before. That's right. Isn't that quite remarkable?
When I tell them how important it is to not allow their blood sugars to get elevated, and how it can cause cravings if your blood sugar goes up and down, they don't believe. I mean, they believe it, but they never knew it.
Right.
It is amazing to me how ignorant people are, doctors and our population, when it comes to eating healthy.
And when you have men visit you, you're a physician, and you tell them not to eat sugar, you work out a program for them, you do their blood, and then you see the men again in 30 days?
Well, we actually are on the phone with them a lot. When I say we, I mean I have a trained a guy that teaches them how to exercise properly and eat properly. His name's Rod Stanley. So he contacts them a lot, and then they can contact me anytime they want. I give them my cell number, and then in 60 days, I repeat blood work. No matter where they live in the country, we send out a phlebotomist to get blood work, and then we talk on the phone. And I encourage my patients to come back at 2 months for a repeat DEXA scan, which tells me about their body composition, so I can tell them how much body fat to the gram they've lost and how much muscle mass they've gained.
Am I ask, are your patients shocked how much better they feel? Are they just really shocked?
They are. I mean, it's amazing. And it happens quickly within the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
I mean, the best kind of...
So then they're real nice to you after the patient's really happy to see you. Is that it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is an amazing kind of medicine I practice. I did traditional family practice in Northeast Pennsylvania. This is so different. All my patients are compliant, and they're happy, and they really appreciate what I've done for them.
So you've made some big transitions in your life. I mean, you've some big changes.
Very big, yes.
Is this just easy for you to do this? Make changes like that? I'm asking on an emotional level that how many men can actually accomplish this?
I think anybody can. I mean, once you realize that you're on a crash and burn course with your health, that makes a believer out of people, and that really is the key, the catalyst to changing people's behavior.
And you bumped into Bill Phillips' book and you read it, and that was the book for you that really thought, oh my goodness, you just didn't know this stuff.
Well, this was actually before his book came out. His book came out the next year. So this was just a magazine I happened to pick up.
Oh.
A Bill Phillips magazine, Muscle Media. And I read through this and I thought, this is amazing. And about that time, they began to show the first year winners of his contest. That's when my girlfriend, now my wife Annie, said, I think you can do this, Jeff. You need to do this. And that's really what got me on this path. And then a few years later, I realized at about age 64, I was doing everything right, but I was losing ground. And that's when I learned about synogenics, and that's when I learned that my hormones were really low.
Do you work with physicians who monitored your hormones and they interpret it as being, no, Jeff, we need to do some other protocols?
Yes, exactly.
Can I ask about some of those protocols?
Absolutely.
What did you do personally, if I can ask, that was helpful?
Well, my testosterone level was really low, as is the case of most of my male patients. That's probably the big reason they come to me. As men age, their testosterone levels decline. This is called andropause. And this is a key factor in what causes men to get old.
So you mean men end up looking like Woody Allen as they get older? They get kind of not to make fun of him, but they get kind of scrawny. Is that it? Men just get scrawny. We lose our mass.
That's right. In fact, that's called sarcopenia, the loss of muscle mass associated with aging. And it turns out it's the number one cause of the reason people go to nursing homes, men and women.
Oh, I see.
So my whole program is to avoid muscle mass loss. I want to maintain or increase muscle mass as people age, and then get rid of body fat.
And you have a nice body now. So, and also, I'm sure you've heard this probably 10,000 times, but people see the pictures of you with a, powerful body, and you don't look like you've had your face lifted. You don't have a hair weave or a wig. You don't need to do all that stuff. And the people say, "Oh, we don't believe that shot. That's not really you." Or,
I hear this all the time.
Yeah, but what is your response? Do you smile now? You've heard it 10,000. What do you say? No, that's me, and it can be you too if you put these ideas into practice.
Exactly, that's my answer. And when they see me in person, they realize that the photos they've seen, this one,
right,
are not photoshopped.
Right,
that they're for real. And I think most men can look like that if they work at it.
It takes a little bit of work, and the payback is enormous. Of course, your body's powerful, because when you don't feel good, it colors your life every day. When you feel lousy every day, it's hard to be a cheerful person.
That's right. And the beautiful thing is that the better I look over the last few years, the healthier I have become.
Right.
So it's a win-win.
Right, exactly.
And you don't
Health
often
and beauty, right.
you don't often see that in life,
And may I ask, what was if you can, without mentioning a name, what's been the oldest man or woman you've worked with?
I have a couple of patients my age.
Yeah, but you're only 74. I thought maybe you had a couple of 99-year-olds or something you were working with.
I have actually had a couple of, when someone starts a program at that age,
yeah,
it doesn't go as well. My average age of my patients, my male patients, is about 46, 47.
Oh, young guys, pretty much young guys.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So I have a handful in their 60s, and I have a few, maybe 3 or 4 in their 70s. The rest are in their 50s and 40s.
And let me put you on the spot. So for the large number of baby boomers, I think there are 78 million boomers, people born from 46 to 64. How long are these boomers going to live? How many boomers will make it to 100, 105, 110? If that's indeed doable, do you have an opinion?
I really don't know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the opportunity is there. I am frightened by the kind of shape that many of the boomers are in.
Mm-hmm.
They don't take good care of themselves. And I'm even more frightened about the younger generation. The younger generation is expected to not live as long as their parents.
Really?
It's the first time in human civilization that this has ever happened. So I'm really worried about the younger people, and it's because of our lifestyle in America and actually worldwide, of poor eating and no exercise. But an individual in their 40s or 50s or 60s that really corrects their hormone deficiencies,
mm-hmm.
eats how they should, keeps their blood sugars low, keeps their risk factors for heart disease down, can expect to live a long time. And we have no studies to back that up.
Right.
But I can tell you that by just looking at the blood work in my patients,
yes,
I would expect these people to continue to live a long, healthy life.
Right. I think we do know that. I think some people say that 117 is the longest lived person who's lived longest, 117. Others claim 122, but some people seem to say it's 117. So we know that you can make 117. But how many of us will make it to 100? How many boomers will make it to 100? Do you think it's going to be, look, in 25 or so years now, say by 2050, will there be a lot of people who are 100 the way we treated our parents when they were 80? That is, there'll be a lot of people around?
I believe so.
I think so,
I
too.
believe so, too. And I think the younger people that take care of themselves, there will be a big segment of those people that will live beyond 100, especially with all the advances that are happening with stem cell research and telomere science.
Mm-hmm.
This is all, the beautiful thing about what my program does
mm-hmm.
is it keeps people healthy. And so when these breakthroughs become available, these people will be candidates for them. I mean, if you're already on your way to the nursing home and something comes along that can really reverse aging, you're not going to be a candidate.
Right.
But if you're healthy and fit and vital, you'll be a candidate.
And we're speaking with JeffreyLife with this remarkable book. His second book, first book was a bestseller on the New York Times bestseller list. Dr. JeffreyLife is an MD. And once again, where is your center in Las Vegas?
It's in Las Vegas. It's part of the Cenegenics corporate headquarters. It's in the Summerlin area, which is kind of the northwest part of Las Vegas.
Would you like to give out a phone number?
Yeah, let me
or
get
a website? Or
my website is the best way to get hold.
Sure.
That's www.drlife, just drlife.com. drlife without a period after the dr.
And your new book, been out in a couple of months. Is this also doing very well?
It's doing well. Get that through Amazon or any bookstore.
Great. Dr. Jeffrey Life, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you, Josh.
Great pleasure.
My pleasure.
You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. I'm going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Are you ready to enjoy the Maui lifestyle? You can have it all by owning real estate on the Paradise Island of Maui. Dennis Rush, a 22-year Maui resident and real estate broker, brings his wealth of experience and market knowledge to add value to your Maui real estate understanding, providing a level of service as unique and exceptional as the island of Maui itself. The magical island of Maui was voted the most exclusive resort island in the world by Condé Nast Traveler, and keep in mind, Maui is only a simple, non-stop flight away. Hawaii Business Magazine Top 100 Realtors awarded Dennis Rush the 2011 fourth top realtor on the island of Maui. Go to www.dennisrush.com to view all of the amazing properties currently available in the Maui MLS system. Whatever your needs or desires, Dennis Rush will provide a private consultation for any Maui properties your heart desires. You will be in good hands. Once again, go to www.dennisrush.com. That's www.dennisrush.com. Contact Dennis today to start your Maui lifestyle now. Dennis Rush, proud sponsors of the Dawn Christie Show and LA Talk Live.
Okra Group Personal Chefs, proud sponsors of Let's Do Lunch with Chef Richard Petty. Okra Group Personal Chefs have been providing quality gourmet culinary services to distinctive homes since 2004. For a free evaluation of dietary needs, call 818-850-9584. That's 818-850-9584. We will design a custom menu that fits your needs. So call us today, Okra Group Personal Chefs. Let us personally make you a dish.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
Welcome back to Here's to Your Health. This is Raphael Cohen-Bakri, and my guest today is Dr. Yoshi Ram, who has an office in Glendale. Hi, Dr. Ram. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about your practice and everything you're offering in your office. And first of all, I just want to say we've met maybe a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago, because you got interested in homeopathy. So that's how everything started. And since then, you've been introducing homeopathy to your practice. And so I will also ask you about that. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, thanks for having me on here. And my background, I grew up in Northern California. I actually lived the first dozen years of my life without any electricity or
Really?
any telephone, which was a great upbringing. I highly recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing that for a weekend. 12 years out of
I made my way down to college at UC San Diego, where I majored in animal physiology and neuroscience. Then I worked in a neuroscience lab in Germany for a little while.
So that was before you became a
Yes,
physician, right?
Correct. And then I made my way back to San Diego, where I worked in an immunology lab. Then I went to medical school at Western University here in the greater Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
Then I made my way to do my residency program at Glendale Adventist in Glendale. And I was chief resident there. And then I finally made my way to start up my own practice where I'm still practicing.
And if I may, what made you change from, all your scientific background? Why made you decide to go to medical school? Was it something you wanted to do from the beginning, or?
Well, a couple points there. My younger brother, he actually had meningitis when he was younger, and it left him with seizures. And there was an amazing osteopathic physician who was able to help him really improve his quality of life dramatically. So I always had that in the back of my mind. Yeah, and that's what ultimately drove to pursuing medicine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, that's what made you choose osteopathy versus regular medical school, or whatever we call it, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And just for our listeners' education, I think a lot of people don't know in the U.S. here what an osteopathic physician is.
They don't. Yeah.
Yeah. There's about 5-6% of all physicians in the U.S. are osteopathic physicians.
Okay.
The other 95% are MDs, which is what most people think of when they think of a physician here in the U.S. I chose to go to osteopathic medical school because in osteopathic medical school, we get all of the same training that MDs get. All 4 years are just the same. In addition, we get an extra training in the musculoskeletal system.
Okay.
And so we're able to come away from that looking at a person's body just from a little bit more of a holistic aspect. And then we have treatments. So we do manual therapy, osteopathic treatments on patients who need it when it's appropriate. And so it's just one more tool in our toolbox.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you can also choose your specialty.
Exactly.
Like MDs do.
Exactly. So an osteopathic physician could become a neurosurgeon or a pulmonologist or whatever they want. I chose to become a family physician.
Okay, so that brings me to ask you, what do you offer? What makes your office different from, another office? What is it that you offer?
Yeah, good question. What I call myself is an integrative osteopathic family physician. And I'll break that down for you. The family physician basically means that I see everyone from newborns to geriatrics and everyone in between with pretty much any condition. All right. The only thing I don't do is OB. I don't deliver babies, but I do pretty much everything else. And so that's the family physician part of that. The osteopathic, we just talked about that. That's where I can kind of look at a person from a different aspect, from a musculoskeletal standpoint, and offer that treatment if it's appropriate. The integrative portion of that integrative osteopathic family physician, that's where I use standard medicine practices, so what most people are familiar with. In addition, though, I use some alternative medicine. And there's a lot of alternative medicines out there. Okay. In the U.S., homeopathy would be considered an alternative medicine. So it's just, I have a few ways of adding tools into my toolbox and potential ways of helping treat people. And I really focus on looking at the whole person. I focus on looking at patients coming from a bunch of different aspects, a bunch of different angles. And again, really just focus on looking at the whole person.
And do you choose whatever therapy you're going to use with a specific patient according to what you think is best for the patient or what the patient is asking for? Do you have patients telling you, oh, I would love to try homeopathy, or I would love to have a osteopathic treatment?
Yes, I have people coming in. They've gone online and looked at my website and they say, "Oh, I want that."
Oh, what's your website, by the way?
It's www.dryoshi.com. So
Doctor, is it DR?
DRYOSHI, dryoshi.com. And so I certainly have people who come in and they say, I want an osteopathic treatment, or I'm here for a homeopathic evaluation. I don't want any antibiotics. No, I take everybody into consideration. Everybody's an individual.
Yes.
I don't like cookie cutter medicine. I'm really about addressing the individual. And so what that means is everybody needs something different. I don't treat anyone the same.
And I guess that's where homeopathy fits really well. Right?
Oh, it fits wonderfully in. Homeopathy can be used for so many different things. And, you know, I've just started to learn about homeopathy. I've been using it for a little while, but there's an endless amount to learn still. And I've had some very successful treatments so far with it.
Doesn't it feel great when you find a solution to something that maybe the patient was hopeless or you didn't know how to?
Oh, yeah. And the best part about homeopathy, I think, is that there's no side effects. You know, we're used to listening to, or you listen to a commercial on TV about this medication, this antidepressant, and then at the end they kind of give the list of possible side effects, which may include cancer, right?
Yeah, or death.
Or death, yeah, in rare cases. You know, well, we don't want that. That's silly, right? And a homeopathic medication, if it's prescribed right, can be so beneficial without any side effects. And what more could we ask for?
And I was curious, since you started, like maybe let's say a year ago, to prescribe homeopathy, what was the response from your patient? Did you have to explain what it was? Was there any resistance, or because they're coming to your integrative practice anyway, they're pretty much open to try it?
Yeah, a good question. Most people want something that's going to help them.
Okay.
And that's what it boils down to. So sometimes, yes, I might need to educate them. They'll say, well, what is homeopathy? And I'll spend a few minutes educating them. But in the end, it really comes down to they want to get better.
Yeah.
And they're trusting my judgment. Again, I don't treat anybody the same. And so I'm really individualizing. And if I say this is what I recommend and this is why, and you know, there are no downsides to this, why don't we give it a shot? And then I see them the next time and they're just thrilled.
And you give them the treatment in your office. I know you're dispensing homeopathy. You're dispensing other medicines as well, or supplements?
Yeah, I do. So along with the homeopathy, I have some good knowledge in herbs and vitamins and supplements. And I prescribe all of those when necessary. And I do sell some out. I do dispense some out of my office.
Or they can also, they're free to go to the store. Or...
Definitely.
So, and what else what other services do you do? I think you do also bioidentical hormone therapy.
Yeah, I do bioidentical hormones. That's a big one.
Okay.
A lot of course, women around perimenopause or menopausal times will, that becomes very appropriate. Or even men during andropause, which is less well known, but
it's
very
not
prevalent.
Yes. Yeah. Would you tell us a little bit about the difference between bioidentical hormones and what we used to, the regular hormones we're getting?
Sure. Yeah, bioidentical hormones really just it boils down to the fact that what we're giving the person is something that their body makes naturally.
Okay.
And that's the whole idea. That's why it can be such a great benefit, is because we're giving the body exactly what it's missing. We're not giving something synthetic that has been altered in a laboratory that's really a different molecule, because those different molecules that our body is not happy with or used to, that's what can cause bad side effects.
All right. Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's very useful. Like I said, a lot of perimenopausal females need it. Not everybody needs it, though. Not everybody going through perimenopause or menopause will need that. It's really individualized. Sometimes you can use herbs, or sometimes even homeopathic remedies will help.
Or sometimes can you combine everything? Or
Definitely. Yeah. And that's what's so fun about practicing integrative medicine, is that there's so many tools in that toolbox.
And what about the men who, have going through that andropause phase? Are they aware that's what's happening, or they just complain with fatigue? Or
it's not very well known, and so men will come in and say, "Oh, I'm fatigued," or "I just don't
age
feel
bracket
quite right."
would you say?
Could be as young as 40 years old. It could be
early.
as old as 60, maybe 70.
Okay.
And some people will live to be 80 and feel great, and that's wonderful. Okay. But for those who don't feel so great, who are complaining of fatigue or a decrease in libido, just not as much joy in life.
Depression can be.
Depression, yeah, that's a big
sleep
one.
Issues.
Sleep issues, yeah.
So then when you have someone like that, how can you assess what's going on? You do lab testing, or you measure the level of hormones?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes into my office, the first visit is usually about an hour, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depending on the person. But it lasts a long time, a lot longer than when
which
you
is
go
what,
to
like 15 minutes in the office.
Yeah. So I really spend time getting to know them, ask them a lot of questions, figure out exactly what's going on. The last thing I want to do is just listen to their main complaint and write one prescription and send them on their way. I want to get down to what the real problem is. And so sometimes that involves extensive lab testing, much more in depth than most people are used to.
Like what, for example?
Like a very in-depth cholesterol panel. Most people will just have their total cholesterol, HDL, and LDL. Those don't really mean very much, honestly. It's about the quality of that cholesterol. And I like to test for inflammatory markers and maybe some genetic tests. Then depending on the person, maybe even heavy metal testing or advanced stool testing that can give us great insight into the body, literally. Yeah.
And then from there, you can determine what's going on.
Exactly. Then I have them follow up, and then we really put the whole package together and figure out what's going on, making a complete assessment, and then I'll spend a lot of time going over different ways to help that person.
So that research that you're doing, are you doing it when the patient is here, or in your office afterwards?
When the patient's there,
okay.
Then of course I get the blood work before they come back, and I'll look over it and make sure just make sure I'm up to date on everything.
But you're really spending a lot of time on one case, which
Definitely.
I think is wonderful compared to what we used to.
Yeah, again, cookie cutter medicine. It works for some situations, but
obviously,
not very well.
Yes. Yeah, but I guess you're getting more complicated cases maybe also.
Yes, absolutely. My most common patient is that patient who's been to 4 or 5, maybe even 10 doctors who hasn't been helped yet.
Yes.
And those are, for me, it's fun. It keeps it interesting. Of course, it's not fun for the patient, but the whole idea is that we're going to work together to help that person. And that's just exciting. It's exciting for me, and it's exciting for them.
And so do you have a lot of people bring in their family, or do you follow like the traditional family practitioner? That's what I see, the doctor when I was a little girl, that's what it was. The medical doctor was following my mom, and then us, and then everybody in the family. And I think that was helping also the doctor, because he could know what was going on.
You can see that interpersonal relationship,
yes,
which is fantastic. And that's what I love. That's my ideal way to practice, is to see the kids, to see the parents, to see the grandparents also. That's fun.
That's where it comes from, right? Family practitioner.
Exactly.
That's what.
Yes.
And I was curious. You said you also see newborns, right? You do osteopathy on their head. I heard about the benefit you can get.
Yeah, cranial osteopathy
Yes.
is one form of osteopathic treatments, and it's exquisite for newborns. Their head is very malleable. Their cranial bones are very malleable, and you can do great good.
Until what age can those bones are not solid?
Yeah, actually, for many years, even
Really?
decades. Yeah. And even adults, their cranial bones are still movable.
Work on it. Yeah.
So children respond very well to cranial osteopathy, but adults respond certainly.
So that's, for example, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but that's what I heard, that, for example, during the delivery, the head might be a little bit,
Yep, we've all seen those cone heads.
Yes.
As
So
they come out, and the mother thinks they're beautiful, even though they have a horrible cone head. Yeah.
For example.
And that's the best time to treat them.
And that's
right
painful.
Away.
That's painful to the newborn.
No pain. No pain.
I mean, the fact that the head is a little bit.
You'll have to ask the newborn that. No, it's not painful to them.
Okay, so you just want to put it back into place.
Their heads, they go back to normal on their own typically.
Okay.
But the cranial osteopathy can just aid that progression along quicker.
Okay.
Yeah, and make sure there's not any neurologic deficits. Some babies particularly have problems nursing, so latching on to the nipple to breastfeed.
Because of that, okay.
Yeah, and what cranial osteopathy can do is really free up those nerves, allow that tongue to actually latch on correctly and nurse better. So there's some profound effects.
So would you say you see each newborn just as a follow-up to make sure everything goes well, or only when there's a complaint or a baby that doesn't feed well or cries a lot?
Either or.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would you recommend?
I would recommend a kind of a wellness, a preventative sort of treatment plan, because then you keep those problems from arising to begin with.
That's very good. So we're talking with Dr. Yoshi Ram. Would you tell us where your office is?
Yeah, it's in North Glendale in the Montrose area. And the easiest way to get that address is probably to go onto my website at www.dryoshi.com.
And you do accept new patients, right?
Definitely.
Yes. The best way is to go on the website and then call.
Yes. My email is on there. The phone number is on there. The address is on there. And it's a good way to get an idea of who I am and what I do, what I offer.
Totally. You said the first visit typically is 1 hour, right?
Typically, yeah.
And then do you see people regularly, or?
I certainly get some people who choose to really use me as their primary care doctor. I'll see regularly for annual physicals and then as needed after that. If something comes up, or if we're working on something, if somebody has Parkinson's, we might be seeing them a lot more often than that. Some people use me more as a consultation doctor, right? They have their own primary doctor.
Okay.
Maybe they're an HMO patient, but then they haven't had success in their treatment plans, and so they come to me a couple times for opinions and further workup that other physicians might not be familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good option too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you also, when you do homeopathy, do you have any success stories or things that are interesting for us, especially for the listeners who are not too familiar with what we can do? A lot of people think homeopathy is okay when you in a good shape, but when something goes wrong. So if you had a few cases, that would be great.
Yeah. Sure. There's so many examples, but I have one patient with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. And during the course of the extensive workup, we found out he had very, very high levels of lead.
Okay.
And so we're working on him. We're doing some chelation.
And do you know why he had that high level of lead? Do we know?
Well, he's worked around, growing up, he worked with paint a lot, sanding paint off of houses. Well, paint used to have lead in it. He's a handyman type of guy. Gasoline used to have lead in it.
That's expected.
Exactly. So probably just from a lifetime buildup of it, really. And it showed up in him as ALS, I believe. Now, through the extensive labs, we figured out that he had the high lead level. And what's interesting is also we tried him on like a gluten-free diet, and his fasciculations, which are really little miniature muscle tremors, which is part of the ALS disease, the symptoms. When he went gluten-free, those fasciculations disappeared by about 95%.
That's amazing.
And now ALS is something that supposedly does not have a life-saving treatment. There's nothing out there.
Does it get worse and worse?
It gets worse and worse until you ultimately die from muscle fatigue. Their muscles don't work. And so we're doing the gluten-free diet and the IV chelation and some supplements, but I also have him on a homeopathic plumbum which is for lead toxicity. And so that's been really neat, right? We're not just going at it from one aspect, but multiple. And part of that treatment is to use the homeopathic remedies. And so that's one example. There's a PMS or perimenopause. Well, let's say PMS. I have a couple of PMS patients who have chosen to use homeopathy on them, and they love it. That's all they need. They don't need any other medications, no antidepressants, no anti-anxiety.
That's so great
medications.
because later on when Josh is going to come back, we're going to talk about that. So, but I'm glad you can give real examples from patients. So those women had other treatments before, or they just came and they said, I have those PMS. I never tried anything. What can you do for me?
Yes. Well, I've got multiple PMS patients who have loved the homeopathy. So a couple of them had come to me on synthetic Premarin or something like that, synthetic drugs. A couple of them hadn't, so we're just trying that right off the bat. But the great thing is we don't even need to use bioidentical hormones on these women, which would be fine, but we don't even need that. We can just use homeopathics.
That's pretty amazing, yes.
Yeah, because the homeopathics just help change that pathophysiology of the person just to heal quicker and heal faster. So it's wonderful.
That's what it seems to me that women's health issues are really a good topic for homeopathy. That
Excellent.
It responds really well. I guess maybe because it's a combination of emotional and also physical, and each patient is so different. You cannot. I don't see how you can address the issue with the same medicine that you give to anybody else.
Definitely.
And I think they like that also, the fact that you
individualizing that treatment to them. Yeah.
Because most of the time, as I remember as a patient, there are a lot of things you want to tell your physician, but it seems irrelevant, right? If you tell them, yes, have that pain, but if I drink cold water, I feel really better. And the physician is looking at you, so what?
Right.
Just drink cold water.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. But this is a different approach that I think.
Yeah, and that's where it's so valuable to sit there and spend time with the patient, asking them those questions. That's something that's just completely missed in most medical schools, teaching our physicians how to be doctors.
Yes.
And it's just totally missed because we just have a physician shortage and too many patients, and it's a sad situation. But giving patients that time to ask those pertinent questions, it's a gift, and it's how it should be done.
Exactly. I remember, I think a few years ago, I'm not sure if it's UCLA or one of those big medical schools, that decided to send a really, I guess, resident, very young doctors to train with nurses to get that empathy and the dialogue, because it's so difficult to go to medical school. So they would lose that connection with the patients. So
Yeah.
I think it was kind of interesting that they would have to talk to nurses to know how to.
Right.
Yeah,
the almighty
empathize.
doctor is supposed to know how to do everything, but in reality, no, we don't know everything.
Well, because also it takes so much. My niece is in medical school in France, and it's so much work, so much studying, and a lot of years spending, because you need that expertise, obviously.
Yeah, but during the process, we forget that empathy.
Wow, which is so important. I know when I call the doctor, I always already feel better, right? Because someone is in charge, and someone.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it doesn't happen very often, but that's very important in the healing process. I think it's not everything, but it is very important. And if you go with something that really concerns you, and you get an hour with you, as opposed to, again, even if the doctor is really good, but you cannot really. Most of the time, you need a little bit more attention, I think.
Absolutely.
And you also do. I looked at your website, and I like you called it herbology. The plant, the herbs.
Herbs, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a whole different other option.
Yes.
Going back to the perimenopausal female, we'll stick with those examples since we've used them already. But you can use things like wild yam. High quality black cohosh or schizandra, and again, just having another tool in that toolbox as an option is.
Did you study it in medical school, or do they offer? No, they don't.
No. I've most of what I do now I did not learn in medical school or even residency. It's. I think it's sad that we don't learn more of this during our training, during our formal training.
Do they mention it? Do they mention other alternative techniques, or you don't?
Some, a little bit, but it's mostly just in passing. And I've gone through extensive training after residency to get this. So I'm board certified in family medicine, but I'm also board certified in integrative and holistic medicine. To get that board certification, you have to take some classes and pass a test. And
was it here, or was it the one in Arizona?
No, it was one here.
Okay.
Offered through Scripps, actually.
Excellent. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was there a few weeks ago. It's a very interesting center.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that you're teaching also?
Yeah, I teach 1 day a week. I go back to the same residency where I was a resident and was chief resident. It's just something I like to do. It's fun to be able to give back to the new physicians in training.
And I think it must be very inspiring for them to also, get to know a doctor that address things differently than the other teachers. And you're teaching osteopathy, or what?
I don't teach osteopathy there. No, what I do is the residents come to me and they present and tell me their plan, and then I'll kind of give some input into, well, this is something else you might consider. And it's fun to be able to offer up kind of, again, quote unquote, alternative options.
And what's their response? Are they open to it?
They're great. Okay. Again, it's always about the patient, and these residents, they just want to help their patients. That's all. Most people who go to medical school have a really big heart. Again, we just kind of lose it during the process. And so they just want to help their patients. So they're open.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Dr. Yoshiram, I think we are almost out of time. Would you give, again, maybe the best way to contact you? Your office is, you said North Glendale.
North Glendale / Montrose area.
Okay.
And it's www.dr for Dr. Yoshi, YOSHI.com.
And you're open every day?
Yeah, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So, yes, now we're going to take a little break with important messages, and Josh will be right back. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ram.
Thank you.
Mountain Valley Spring Water, since 1871, has been bottled at the source in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Twice named the best tasting water in the world, Mountain Valley water is naturally alkaline and bottled in glass, providing the perfect blend of nature's minerals, giving you a crisp, clean taste. To start your home and office delivery in Southern California, call us at 1-800-499-9982 or visit us online at www.mountainvalleywaterla.com. New customers will receive their first 2 5-gallon bottles free. Mountain Valley Water, the official sponsor of Here's to Your Health with Josh Lane on LA Talk Live.
Hey, shout us out. What's the count? I'm your host, Ferran Dozier. I'm inviting you to join me on WDC Radio every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as we discuss community topics around health, sports, and entertainment. So don't forget to shout us out. What's the count? On WDC Radio, only on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. What's the count?
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at LATalkLive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
We're back. You're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. And with me today is my co-host, Raphael Cohn-Bakri. Raphael Cohn-Bakri is a registered pharmacist, and Raphael Cohn-Bakri is the educator for Boron Homeopathic Medicines. Raphael Cohn-Bakri, welcome once again to Here's to Your Health.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you again.
Nice to have you back for your monthly discussion of homeopathic medicines, sponsored by Boron Homeopathic Medicines. Let me just show some of those products on camera. We'll just put these on the side here. Very good. And our subject today is women's health issues using homeopathic medicines. Okay.
I think it's a good transition with the segment we did before with Dr. Ram, because I think homeopathy is really, really efficient in women's health issues, precisely for what we just said, that it's an individualized treatment, at least when you go and see a physician who's trained in homeopathy, so they can really determine what's the exact treatment for you at that point of your life with the issues you're coming with, as opposed to just prescribing the same, hormone or the same painkiller. So that's why women respond really well. And of course, here I'm talking about specific issues in
So we're talking menstrual menopausal issues.
That can be that can be homeopathy is really efficient. All the issues you can have during pregnancy, during labor, after delivery, even baby blues, you can treat that.
Oh, really? What's the homeopathic suggestions for baby blues?
There are several, but sepia is a very common medicine for. But they are, again, because it's individualized, there's not one answer, but there are a lot of answers for those issues, breastfeeding, women who want to promote good milk production. If they have a little issue there, we can help with homeopathy.
Really? Tell me some suggestions on the air.
Ricinus communis is a medicine that can, depending on the way you use it, I don't want to go into too much detail, but just know that depending on the way you're using it, you can either promote the milk production or decrease it.
No kidding. Wow.
So it's very interesting. And again, we're very, very limited with pregnant women and breastfeeding women because a lot of medicines, go through the milk or through
That's right.
go to the fetus. So there are not a lot of things you can do. So you can really use homeopathy in those cases, and that's really I think it's key here. And it's not only for those very specific women issues, but if you're pregnant and you have a cold, you're also very limited, right?
Yes, you would be.
But so that's why I think homeopathy is great in those cases. Morning sickness, again, you cannot prescribe.
Oh my goodness, morning sickness. Okay, so let me put you on the spot here. So what is some suggestions for morning sickness, which women make? Oh my God, it makes them so unhappy.
So again, depending on the situation. For example, that's a very easy question to ask someone who has even just nausea. If you do vomit, do you feel better after you're vomiting, or are you still exactly as nauseous as you were before? And depending on the answer, you're going to give one or the other. So, for example, a woman who says, "I'm very nauseous to a point that I have to vomit, but then I'm even worse," you're going to recommend Ipecac. Ipecac. That's one example, and so, but that's how it's not difficult, but you just need to ask more questions than when you just go to your regular, physician who just, you're nauseous, that's what you're getting.
And when a woman uses Ipecac, we're talking about little tiny tablets, like 4 at a time, every 15 minutes, or what would be the protocol?
Yes, it's usually 5 pellets, but
5,
4, 6 is not. But 5 is what we used to. You put them under your tongue, and it can be every 15 minutes. That's totally fine, even more if you want. And again, that's a perfect example. When you're nauseous or when you're vomiting, you don't want to have to swallow anything, right? Because you're not going to keep it.
Right.
So because it's sublingual, you don't have that issue. So that's also same thing during labor. You cannot take anything, obviously, but those little pellets, you can start them even a few days before to really, get ready. You can work on the stress, the anxiety, anticipation. You can work on the contractions themselves, so they're more, regular and more efficient. You can also, for example, arnica is going to be a really very common medicine during labor and after labor for everything that's related to bruising, to hemorrhage, to pain. So there are protocols that are very, handy for pregnant women. Of course, PMS, it's like we said with Dr. Ram, it's something that you can handle with homeopathy very easily, provided that you know what you're doing.
So at this juncture, at this point in the conversation, once again, you are a registered pharmacist. Right. And tell me once again, what school did you go to in Paris?
I went to Université Paris Sud, which is, there are 2 big pharmacy schools in Paris. That's one of those 2 schools.
And you are a graduate pharmacist?
I graduated in France. I got my doctorate there, yes.
And also, as we always like to comment on every segment with homeopathy, homeopathic medicines, tell me how they're regulated.
So that's a very important point that I think it's good to repeat all the time. They are regulated as drugs by the FDA since 1938, and it put them in the category of the medicines as opposed to herbs and supplements. So it means that they are regulated differently, and the manufacturing, the labeling, everything is regulated by FDA.
And because it's regulated by the Food and Drug Administration as a medicine in the United States, that is why you can make specific claims for what these homeopathic medicines will do. That it's completely legal to say, this is good for morning sickness.
Yes, and I think that's, you would know more, but I think that's why supplements cannot really make any claims,
That's right? They're not allowed to make claims.
Yes.
Vitamin C might be very good for a cold, but you're not allowed to make a claim that vitamin C is good for a cold.
Yes. So that's also very, reassuring for the patient that, everything is very controlled and very scrutinized.
No, the patients have a right to know that, and I think they're happy to know that. Okay, now we just talked about, morning sickness, and morning sickness is really debilitating. I mean, it's debilitating. So one form is morning sickness, you throw up, and you still feel awful, and you recommend Ipecac.
Yes.
What if you throw up and feel better? What do you recommend?
So then you have that question. You also need to ask, do you feel better, for example, if you eat something? Some women really feel better by eating a little crackers, not necessarily a heavy meal, but something.
Right.
That would be more petroleum. That's another medicine.
Which one?
Petroleum.
Okay.
Other people, that's a little bit more for motion sickness, but it's the same mechanism. Some people, it's very typical. You're in a car, you need to get some fresh air.
Right.
So that's going to be tabacum. So I'm just giving
tabacum for motion sickness.
Yeah,
like
because
in a car.
Because think about what happens when you get your first cigarette. You get those nausea, and that's what homeopathy is about. You take the substance that would create the symptoms, and you dilute it greatly, and you manufacturing it into a homeopathic medicine, and you're going to relieve the same symptoms.
And if I can ask you this question, most women who have morning sickness, when they vomit, by percentage, don't most women just feel just as awful? They don't feel any better when they vomit, don't they? They just feel awful all the time.
It's very possible, most of the time, but some might get a relief. So it's very very unique, very different, and that's for example for PMS, premenstrual syndrome. Each woman is different almost. Right. Some have very mild symptoms, some have none, some are almost they need to stay home for a few days. Right. So that's why you cannot really answer by one solution. But however, there is a medicine. This is to make it easy for patients. You don't necessarily need to go and see a physician if you have symptoms that are not really, really bad, but just the usual, the headache, the fatigue, the joint pains, the bloating, the everything that's related to premenstrual syndrome. There's a medicine that it's a combination medicine, so
it's called Cyclase from boron.
It's called Cyclase PMS because there's another one, Cyclase cramp, and it's a combination of 3 medicines, so to relieve all those symptoms. It's a great way of to release those discomfort and symptoms without side effects, without there is no painkiller, there is no caffeine, so you don't have either that drowsiness or some people find relief by getting caffeine in a formulation, so then they don't sleep well. So it's a little bit counterproductive. So it's a very gentle way to address your symptoms without having all those downsides that other what we call allopathic medicines might bring.
And so I would use 5 tablets? I use it every 15 minutes when I feel really awful.
So that's a little bit different because PMS typically women know when they're gonna get them. It can be as early as almost 10 days to 2 weeks before the periods. That's really not very often, but that might happen, or just 2 or 3 days before. So it's very often irritability. It's a combination of mood issues, psychological issues, and physical issues. So women recognize it most of the time, but it's real. I remember we talked about it a long time ago, but it used to be treated as like women were being difficult or cranky, but it was not something we could really,
Right.
But it's no when
in the
you
Dark Ages.
Yes,
20 years ago, right?
But that's true, yeah. But when you really study it, it's we don't exactly know why it happens, but it's certainly because of changes in hormone levels. So yeah, obviously, after ovulation, the levels of progesterone and estrogens go up, and it changes. It fluctuates all the time. It fluctuates during a woman's life, but also during each cycle. It's different for everybody. But we know that mainly, that rise in estrogen It's going to influence, neurotransmitters such as, the one that everybody talks about, serotonin, which is, responsible for mood, for, depression. So those symptoms are real, and, there is something we can do about it. We can do to treat them without necessarily go to, Prozac or all those heavy medicine that I don't think they're necessary.
And also, whenever we have your segment on homeopathy, we want to mention that in the United States, homeopathy is becoming more widely accepted and known, but that indeed in France and Germany, other important industrialized nations, homeopathic items are in wide use, and that in the health services in France, the government pays for them.
A portion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's not 100%, but yeah, and they're only distributed in pharmacies, and you have to talk to the pharmacist to get your medicine. So it's a little bit different from here.
Well, that seems like a good system as well. But I wanted to mention, just by way of our listeners who are, say, American, who really have not heard of homeopathic medicines, and it might seem somewhat exotic to them. Although, of course, isn't the number one recommended homeopathic medicine Arnica montana?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
And people do kind of seem to know Arnica montana.
But they don't necessarily know it's homeopathy. Which
That's
I
true.
think
That's
it's
true.
interesting.
Yes, you're right.
Yes.
Because many times physicians will recommend Arnica montana and bromelain when men and women are going in for elective surgery.
Totally, for better recovery, for less bruising, less, swelling. Yes, but they don't necessarily, and maybe they don't need to know, but I think
That's right. They just think, oh, Arnica montana, that's great, but they don't realize it's homeopathic medicine.
Yeah, totally. And in Europe, it's very interesting because we don't think of homeopathy as alternative or...
Right.
Yeah, it's just a medicine, But it's different, but it's growing here. Definitely more interest from the patients and from the doctors. They're also, like we were saying before, they want to help their patients. So, if you have something that's safe and proven and, serious, and you can help your patients with it, providing that you're studying a little bit or you want to know more, I think it's something you should consider.
And you go to physicians' offices, and I noticed that some of the practitioners you bring in osteopaths. Have you found that the osteopaths are just more open to using these products, or they simply have that background anyway, because many of them are not from the United States?
Yes, it's true that I happen to have a lot of osteopaths. I think they're a little bit more, I don't know if they're more open-minded or they're more ready to integrate something new because they already...
I found them to be open-minded.
Yes,
actually.
But no, I'm saying that because I also have a lot of MDs. But sometimes the MDs study homeopathy and they use it, but they don't necessarily use all those other alternative medicine. So I thought their practice might be less. There is less matter of discussion because they do only. That's why. But there are also MDs who do almost only homeopathy. So you have all very different cases. Yeah, I do know MDs who do.
Gee, I didn't want to paint it with too broad a brush, but I found that the osteopaths in general tend to be, there are a lot of progressives as far as wellness who are osteopaths.
Well, I think also because they used to spend more time with their patients. So obviously, when you have more time, you get to know your patient more, and it's a different approach. They're not under the same pressure, maybe, as, they are. Yes.
I do have another question about homeopathic medicines. So we're talking about some homeopathic medicines that are good for when you have cramping, etc. What about, let's do beauty. We want to make the hair, skin, and nails lovelier. Is there such a product called, is it Silicea? Or am I pronouncing it close?
It's Silicea.
Silicea.
Yes.
And
this is sand.
And what has been your experience with that, and how do I use it?
I cannot say that I have a lot of experience with the nails and the skin, and it's not like a supplement that you can take for the quality of your hair. I couldn't tell you, Josh. I don't think.
Okay, let me. Here's why I ask. I was listening to a broadcast, a wellness broadcast, and I thought, oh, this is good. And one of the fellows said that he has used Silicea. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay. He's using it for dissolving fatty cysts.
That I could understand. That I could understand.
I
But
thought that was fantastic. I never heard that before.
You can achieve really interesting things that, yes, that nothing could help before. But the skin thing, I'm not sure. Maybe it's more part of regulating. No, I
All right.
couldn't
So my
say.
question for you is, what do you have for me that's good for my hair, skin, and nails? What have you got?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think I have any.
Oh, not really. Nothing. Oh, nothing at all.
No, I don't
Really?
think that's something because they are not really symptoms. You just want to like have the skin look younger
Yes.
or
Yeah. How can I make the skin look younger? What do you got?
have a lot of plastic surgeons.
No,
address.
no. No, I was looking for something a little bit more homeopathic, actually, as it were.
They would give you arnica.
They would. Okay. What about this?
Yeah.
What if I am a runner and I have problems with my knees? What do you have for my structure?
For the joint, yes. So again, it's one question, but there are several answers, right? So just to keep it simple, so maybe people can remember, definitely arnica. That's for sure. That's the medicine you have to take every time there's pain, inflammation, swelling. Now you can ask the person, or if it's you, for example, you wake up in the morning and your knees are painful, and then you're gonna walk a little bit, and the more you walk, the better you feel. Sometimes it happens. You get better by moving the joint. That's typical of Rhus toxicodendron.
What's that again?
Rhus, RHUS, sorry, toxicodendron. It's a plant. It's derived from a plant, but that's typical of the joint pain that gets better once the person is moving around.
Rhus tox.
Yes, Rhus tox. Yes.
And how would I use that? 5 little tablets again?
Well, I would take it morning and evening. 5
tablets
pellets.
more, and that could theoretically help me with joint pain.
It will. If that's how I described it. Then you have some other people who tell you, when it hurts, I just want to stop walking, stop everything, and just be immobile, and even maybe putting some pressure on the joint with like a tight bandage would help. And that's typical of another medicine that's also for joint pain, but with those characteristics, and that's going to be bryonia, which is also from a plant. Bryonia.
What plant?
I think it's bryona. It's the same word in
I don't know that plant. Okay.
Yes.
And what is Arnica montana derived from?
The mountain daisy.
And that grows in the United States.
And in Europe, yes, yeah. And actually, I had a very interesting discussion with someone who from my company who reminded me that why boron medicines are so excellent, and why if you're hesitating between different brands, why we're different. It's not only we're very very good at making those medicines, but we're very respectful of the environment. Like when we have professional persons collecting the everything we're using, but for example, when they're picking the mountain daisy, they do it in a way that it doesn't destroy the plant, so it keeps growing. But it's part of the whole. I think that's the way it should be. We're promoting good health. We're promoting awareness, and so do it from the beginning till the end. I think.
So that's it's lovely that boron is doing that. And boron is. I know I ask you this on a regular basis. They're in more than 40 countries?
60 I believe, countries. Yes. It's growing every day, so I can't keep track. But yeah, it's worldwide. It's excellent products, and a lot of success. So that's why I think it's going to grow.
Actually, you also have a facility in Simi Valley where you actually manufacture homeopathic medicines, do you not?
We used to have a lab that was really good, but I think now everything comes from the East Coast. It was just easier for us. Yes, yeah, but we still have the lab, but I'm not sure it doesn't function to its full, capacity for just, I don't exactly know.
And these boron homeopathic medicines, I can buy them at Whole Foods, at Lassen's, at all the natural food stores, and even at some pharmacies now.
A lot of a chain, yes, like CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aids on the East Coast. They have Raid. A lot of physicians also choose to carry them in the office because Like we said many times, it's better when you can start the medicine early on in the course of the disease. So if the physician has them right there, it helps. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I just want to go back because I didn't answer your question well about cyclist PMS. The way to take it, it's going to be more like a treatment, like morning and evening. 2 tablets in the morning, 2 tablets in the evening. This is for women age 12 and older.
Okay, so this is different. So this is not 5 little tiny tabs. These are larger
These
tabs.
are exactly. Okay. Those are combination medicine. That's why we use the tablets. They dissolve in a few seconds in the mouth. And this, as opposed to cyclist cramps, that those same thing. Those are 2 tablets. You're going to take 2 tablets when you feel the need, when you have the cramping. So I wanted to make that difference.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For those of you just tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Television Network, we're speaking with Raphael Cohen-Bakri, a registered pharmacist. Raphael Cohen-Bakri is the educator for boron homeopathic medicines, and Raphael Cohen-Bakri is one of my series regulars. What else do we have for women? Yeast infections. Now, yeast infections, those are upsetting, and they're getting a lot of press because physicians are becoming more aware of lifestyle that causes yeast infections. But what ideas do you have for yeast infection?
So this is a little different presentation. It's called Yeast Away, by Boron, and those are vaginal suppositories.
Well, suppositories?
Yes. Right. And they're very different from what you can find, in the stores usually. They're not itching, they're not drying. And the important thing is that, and I want to make that point very clear, because all our medicines are OTC, over the counter, meaning you can go to the store and just take whatever you want.
Yes.
So you're self-medicating, basically, which is totally fine because our medicines are safe. But you don't want to also misdiagnose yourself and think you just have a yeast infection when it's something more serious.
I see, yes.
So what you don't want to do with something that's OTC is take something that's going to change your symptoms and, lab tests if ever you need to make some.
Right.
Because then the poor physician is not going to be able to really establish the right diagnosis when you finally get to the office. So first of all, I would say if it's the first time you're experiencing symptoms, it's better to go see your physician. If it's really painful or if you have secretion that are, either colored or that you can see there's an infection, or if you have fever, obviously you go see your physician. I would really recommend Yeast Away to women who are used to getting yeast infection, very typical before the periods.
Okay, and can I ask you this? So why are women prone to this? Why?
Well, we have yeast on the mucus of the vagina anyway, and in the digestive system. This is just part of the flora. That's totally fine. The growth of those yeast are usually controlled by our immune system and by other bacteria, what we call the good bacteria. But if there's if this balance is disrupted either by hormones changes, so again, before your period, your hormones change, the birth control pills also have an influence on the...
So birth control pill is kind of, unfortunately, a bad agent here.
Yeah, it has a lot of side effects, actually, that we're becoming more and more aware, because, again, it disrupts, a lot of things in your body. It changes also your level of vitamins. You have to know. You have to know what's going on. You might need to take supplements. But so every time there's something that disrupts that flora, it can also be antibiotics. For example, you have a sore throat, and you need antibiotics. You can get amoxicillin. This is gonna kill, the bacteria that causes the sore throat, but it's also going to kill a lot of other bacteria that you need in your digestive tract.
So the use of medication, and of course birth control pill is medication, is really a principal cause here.
I would think, yes. There are other things that trigger, the occurrence of the yeast infection. They're not causing it, but they can trigger it. It can be like a soap that you're using that's too abrasive, or things like that,
wearing synthetic clothing, polyester
absolutely,
clothing.
Yes, yeah. And some women
but largely, it's really the medication, right?
Medication,
And
the
so
food maybe also that we...
food would be an issue, but if it's medication, that makes it controversial because the pharmaceutical guys don't want to say, oh, yes, it's the birth control pill causing this problem for X percentage of the women. So that's why it makes it I'll use the word complex, but also makes it a controversial diagnosis.
Well, I think in all cases you have to assess, the benefit and the risk. If you really need antibiotics and you know you're going to get a yeast infection, I would take the
Right.
see. Right. But if you know what's going on, maybe you can prevent it by taking something that's going to prevent that disruption in the flora, like lactobacillus, or those supplements that can also balance what's happening in your guts. Or you might, as soon as you feel the first itch, you take the yeast away, the suppositories, and you're gonna stop it really early on, as opposed to not knowing what's going on, not making the relationship between the antibiotics and what's going on. So I think education is important. And I'm not saying don't take your antibiotics.
I know you're not.
But know what can happen and what you can do to minimize, or maybe mention it to your doctors. Because not a lot of people think to tell their physician when they go for a sore throat, oh, by the way, I'm prone to yeast infection.
Although they're going to the physician is supposed to help them, so they should not be embarrassed at all. And this yeast away suppository, is that a one time a day, or more? Is it morning and night?
The best thing is to insert one at night for 7 days.
Oh, just one at night for 7 days.
Yes, yes. I would say you can stop it after a few days, but it's better to really get rid of the yeast infection to take the whole box of 7 suppositories. Again, for women age 12 and older, because for younger, children, we want the parents to take the child to the physician, obviously, yes.
And Raphael, please give me the contact information for Boron Homeopathic Medicines.
Best way is to go on our website, www.boronusa.com. Boron is B as in boy, O-I-R-O-N as in Nancy, USA.com. And you get a lot of, you can key in your symptoms, and it can give you some options. Or it's very informative.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We've been chatting with Raphael Cohn-Bakri, registered pharmacist. Raphael Cohn-Bakri is the educator for Boron Homeopathic Medicines here in California. And you're listening to Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live Transmedia Network. I'm your host, Josh Lane. We're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
People, it's Jennifer Tapier from StarCam. You guys might know me from the red carpet, catching up with all the stars, but guess what? We're bringing the red carpet to the radio right out here on LA Talk Live. I'm going live Thursday nights at 6 p.m. We got hot topics, celebrities, and much more. We were featured on Chloe Lamar on E!, Howard Stern, T.I.'s Family Hustle. You know how we do. So check it out on Thursday nights, 6 p.m. All things Hollywood, everything celebrity. StarCam Radio?
StarCam Radio? StarCam Radio!
Oh yeah, follow us on Twitter at StarCam Radio.
Hey everybody, it's Miss R&B, and I'm inviting you to come and hang with me
every Thursday night at 9 p.m. PST for Perspectives Corner with Rona Rowe Bennett on America Talk Live. Hear and see interviews and live performances from some of our favorite celebrities and personalities in entertainment, sports, business, and the wellness industries. We're getting lifted and we're going deep, talking about life and empowering the champion in us all. See you there.
Hi, this is Romy Klinger.
This is Rose Garcia.
And we are inviting you to join us for the Romy and Rose Show every Friday at 4 p.m. Tune in for the Romy and Rose Show. We're going to be talking about pop culture, dating, business 101, what's ratchet, what's not ratchet, and music and so much more. So don't forget, tune in to the Romy and Rose Show. About to get real.
Exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality show handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
We're real talk.
Hands can do incredible things. This is the sound of 326 hands playing Mozart. This is the sound of 10,942 hands showing appreciation. 64 hands building a house for the homeless. 142 hands swimming a triathlon. 18 hands winning the big game. And this is the sound of 2 hands helping to save a life. It's called Hands Only CPR, and it's recommended by the American Heart Association. If an adult suddenly collapses, call 911, then push hard and fast in the center of their chest until help arrives. It's incredibly easy and effective. Hands can do incredible things, but nothing compares to using them to help save a life. Find out more about this latest method of CPR at handsonlycpr.org. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Joshua Lane, member of the board of directors of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Hippocrates Health Institute, Josh Lane was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that brought wheatgrass, sprouts, and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health on LA Talk Live, Joshua Lane.
Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live radio network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is Jackie Keller. Jackie Keller has this new book out, Fit After Baby, Body After Baby. And Jackie Keller works with so many people in Hollywood that you might accuse her of being a terrible name dropper, if indeed she did not work with everyone who is well known in Hollywood. Jack Nicholson, of course, from my generation, big fan. Uma Thurman, Angelina Jolie, Reese Witherspoon. I mean, the list of A-listers goes on. And Jackie Keller, lovely book, talking about after women have babies, it takes a lot of work to have a healthy baby. You've got to be healthy enough to conceive, to carry successfully for 9 months, to deliver a healthy child, and then to recover. And many women find that after the pregnancy, they feel very depleted. They do not have energy. They are not happy with their bodies. And Jackie has worked out a program for them so that these women can regain their vitality, regain their strength, regain the form they're looking for in a reasonable amount of time. And Jackie Keller now is actually, she's in studio and she's setting up. We're setting up in studio. And Jackie Keller will be demonstrating some of the foods that we can eat and that are successful for us. Jackie, could Jackie say hello now, or is there not enough time to say hello? Jackie, no? Not enough time, no. The sound man Nestor has told me that it's not quite enough time. So I'm going to be doing a little tap dancing for another minute or two until Jackie's all set up. I see carrots there and vegetables. I recognize the items. They look like foods that most of us, we Americans, do consume. So. Seems like vegetables. Seems very good, really. I think you might be on. I'm hoping that Ness has the camera on there. This is internet radio and television, and sometimes it's, little mistakes happen. Usually they're fun mistakes. Okay, so we have Jackie Keller. Oh, wait, Jackie Keller. We see Jackie Keller now on camera. Jackie, welcome to Here's to Your Health. Thank you for being on. Thank you. And of course, in preparation for your interview, I watched all the interviews you've done. I mean, you really have been on the major shows, and you really do work with the major stars in Hollywood. And it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Just for clarification, I work with a predominantly ordinary folk, just like you and me. It's nice to have a celebrity client base, and after 25 years in business, I'm fortunate enough to be able to call a lot of the names that you mentioned and a whole host more, clients or former clients. But we really do pride ourselves on serving the whole entire population in terms of the demographic that the meals are intended for. And of course, the book is a tool, just as are some of our other products and services, to help anybody and everybody achieve a longer, healthier life. So there's a celebrity population that uses our service, but by and large, it's the everyday population that uses the service and benefits from the meals that we create.
And if I may ask, since you've been doing this for a very long time, what books did you read? What authors did you really enjoy? How helped you get involved with wellness?
With wellness per se, I would have to say, Andrew Weil has governed a lot of my thinking in terms of the importance of using plant foods to produce health benefits in people. The culinary aspect of our business and the creativity, the love of food all comes from early fascination with Julia Child and everything that she did. So it goes back a long way in terms of what inspired me from a culinary standpoint. From a health standpoint, my inspiration comes predominantly from the fact that my dad died of heart disease when I was a teenager. It was very sudden, very unexpected. And I really think that my life's work has become my way of sort of working through the grief process, which I never really did at the time that he died. So instead of really looking inside and going through a long grieving process, I turned the energy outward and began what has become a life work of helping people live a longer, healthier life through better food.
So in the 70s, Andrew Weil was really one of the principal authors that you read and felt, I resonate with this information?
I felt that the information had true value, as opposed to it being just mildly interesting or something of a fad that was popular and dynamic at the time. As you know, food fads and diet fads have come and gone.
They do, yes.
Gone, and a lot of things are very, very, very cyclical. Now, Dr. Atkins was popular back in the 50s and 60s, then again in the 80s, then again in the late 90s. So we do see a very cyclical sort of nature of, it's almost like hemlines, they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. Same thing with protein, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. And Andrew Weil's teachings are really much more mainstream and plant-based science. So I find that tends to be philosophically more in line with what I believe.
And you have your own kitchens. You have your own kitchen where you manufacture food and then you send it out to their homes and offices.
Exactly. We cook for our clients, and our kitchen facility is located in West LA. We operate out of what could be considered a storefront location, and we do that so that people can come in and see where their food is made. We also have the ability, of course, to work with people who have weight management issues and want to come in and be weighed. I'm a board certified professional health coach, so I do have clients that come in for coaching services as well as a meal service, but the core of our business is healthy, fresh, nutritionally controlled meals that are delivered all over Southern California and shipped all over the country.
And so what type of meals? You mean like salmon or something?
Well, salmon is one of probably 50 different kinds of fish that we prepare. We have over 2,500 recipes in the database. Wow. And again, that takes you back to my, strong culinary orientation. I did go to chef school in France at Cordon Bleu a million years ago, practically, a long time ago. And so we have a very robust database of recipes that we pull from to engage people in healthy eating and to make the food, inventive, creative, exciting, and interesting. And all of the food is prepared out of our West LA facility and then driven to various parts of Southern California and shipped.
And what is the basic premise? What are the substances in your meals that you use, and what do you tell the clients? No, this is what we don't use. This is why you buy our foods.
What we tell clients is that our ingredients are all natural, all hormone and antibiotic free. Much of it is organic. We certainly have the ability to provide completely organic meals if somebody specifies that they want everything to be organic, but we're very proud of the fact that we have our own farm on the central coast of California.
You have your own farm?
We have our own farm.
Good for you.
Thank you.
And what do you grow there?
Well, we grow vegetables. It's a no animal face farm, other than it's a certified wildlife habitat by the National Wildlife Association. So we have rabbits and gophers and other natural animals. But in terms of the crop production, it's all plant. So it is soil that has never been farm treated or sprayed in any way. So we use organic plants and organic compost and organic farming methods on what we consider to be a very sustainable small farm.
That's a very progressive thing to do. Good for you.
Well, thank you. It's a labor of love. We bought the farm about 3 years ago, and this is really the first year where we have really, hundreds of pounds of produce now being grown over the course of a season. And it is all used in the meals that we prepare for our clients. So we bring it down and put it right into the foods that we make. We also pride ourselves on buying our seafood from Santa Monica Seafood, so it's all wild or sustainable. And as I mentioned, our chicken is organic, our turkey is free range or all natural. We don't use any products that have hormones, antibiotics, or preservatives. And the reason that our clients appreciate that is because it makes them feel better. I mean, honestly, yes, it's right. All about helping people live a longer, healthier life. It's not a weight loss shop, so to speak. We do have many clients that are interested in weight loss, but we have an increasing population of clients who are interested simply in the health benefits that come from eating well. We have some clients who have weight gain issues, not weight loss issues. And many clients who have disease management issues where they're trying to deal with a disease that may have a strong nutritional component like renal disease or celiac disease, right, or heart disease, congestive heart failure, hypertension. All of these have strong nutritional ties, and so our meal plans are customized to fit those requirements. And that is a very unique approach, and it's one that we've pursued for 25 years. It's not unique to us. It's unique to the industry, if you will, of home food delivery.
For those of you just tuning in to Here's to Your Health, we're speaking with Jackie Keller, the author. She has a company called NutriFit and has a new book, Body for Baby. Body After Baby.
Well, it's for baby too.
For baby too, and Body After Baby.
Absolutely.
Now you just mentioned a number of health problems,
right,
that you feel have a dietary component. Let's talk about celiac disease. Tell me what celiac disease is, and what do you think is a good suggestion for your clients?
Well, rather than, I know we have precious little time together, Joel, going through an elaborate explanation of celiac disease, which,
okay, sorry,
if I might just talk about why, how we deal with that with our clients. Of course, celiac sufferers cannot have food that contains gluten, and gluten is a component of many grains, predominantly wheat, but many other grains. So the first issue that we have to deal with is making sure that when people request a gluten-free diet, that we understand whether or not, in fact, they're celiac sufferers or just trying to explore alternative grains because they believe that they're sensitive to wheat, or they are uncomfortable with it, or they don't think they should be eating pasta or bread.
Right.
So for that reason, we feature many ingredients like quinoa in our recipes.
And quinoa is gluten-free.
Quinoa is a grain, and it's gluten-free. It's also very high in protein, and it contains a number of important phytonutrients that are helpful in an anti-inflammatory diet and helpful from the standpoint of alternative proteins, because quinoa is extremely high in protein as a grain. So I have a very simple quinoa salad that we prepare for some of our clients who enjoy salads and like a cold lunch or a cold appetizer snack kind of meal. And the particular quinoa salad that I brought the ingredients for today, which are here, is a quinoa salad with olives, of course, for their wonderful high monounsaturated healthy fats, sunflower seeds for their vitamin E properties, and then some red and orange vegetables like carrots and tomatoes for their lycopene, green beans and Italian parsley, just to make the salad interesting, inventive, and creative. Yeah. So this might be an example of a celiac-friendly, if you will, lunch that we might serve to a client, or just a nice, wholesome, well-rounded lunch that might work in any client's meal plan. The other thing that we have to be careful about is that wheat and gluten are contained in many items that are not necessarily apparent, like soy sauce. And you can buy naturally fermented, gluten-free soy sauce. It's generally tamari, which is a non-fermented soy product. But if somebody has a wheat issue but not a gluten issue, you might have to adjust the ingredients for any given recipe depending on whether or not you were dealing with a true celiac issue or just a gluten or wheat sensitivity.
And Jackie, in your experience, have you ever worked with clients and you give them a presentation on, listen, we're going to modify your lifestyle as far as what you're eating,
right,
and I think we can give you the following benefits, and the clients are thinking, oh, I don't think so. And then they try it for 2 or 3 weeks or a month, and they think, oh, my goodness, that was so simple now that I know it. And they come back and say, Jackie, thank you?
I am so fortunate, Joel. I get to hear amazing things about how people feel almost every single day. Just this morning, I was talking to a client who's lost 18 pounds in the last 3 weeks, which is unbelievable weight loss, and not necessarily sustainable over the long term, nor do we push rapid weight loss programs. But it just so happened that this person was coming from a very disadvantageous diet to a very advantageous diet and had remarkable results. I hear wonderful things about results nearly every single day. And I'm very fortunate that I can go through my adult life and my working career knowing that I'm doing something that benefits people and makes them healthier and happier, as opposed to a host of other careers which, would be alternatives.
And you were always called to, in other words, first you went to an excellent school in France and studied how to be a great chef, really kind of a gourmet chef.
Back in the days when I went to Cordon Bleu.
Was that in the 70s?
It was in the 70s, and definitely not a health orientation to it, but true culinary pleasure. I mean, from the standpoint of really understanding and appreciating how to create great food. Then the challenge, of course, became, how to modify it so that I didn't hurt people's health with it.
So you had, while you were attending school in France, you had the orientation of wellness, but you thought, no, I really require the training from this best school. Is that it?
While I was attending the school, I was very health conscious myself. I really did not foresee, I was very, very young, I was early, in my career, and I did not think that I would become a chef necessarily for the rest of my life. I was fortunate enough to have a dad that, while he was still alive, agreed for me to be able to go to France by myself at a very young age, not knowing anybody, to pursue my dream of chef school. And I didn't really have a plan in my mind at that point, but I was definitely health oriented myself. I really didn't put it together with the health sort of avocation or passion until about 10 years later. So I came back. I went on to university. I got a degree in business from USC. I went into corporate America. I had a brief but successful, very highly successful career as a director of human resources, and developed a lot of training and teaching skills. So I spent the first 8 years or so post-college graduation, or post-high school college graduation, really pursuing corporate America. But, you always come back to what you love. And I was fortunate enough to be able to put the health together with the training, the teaching, and the culinary side of my personality, put it all together 25 years ago and started this company.
25 years ago, these ideas were like pretty kind of cutting edge. I mean, people weren't really doing this as far as delivering healthy food, were they?
No, we were the first meal service in Los Angeles to begin healthy meal service, I think. It took a long time to explain to people what we did because it was pretty much unheard of. It was hard for people to wrap their head around it. Fortunately for us, competition came in after about, by the late 90s. I think some of the other services in LA started up. Some of them had a lot more advertising dollars and deeper pockets than we did. So home meal delivery became much more of a household name. And of course, now it's, very common for people to have meals delivered. And there are many other services out there that claim to do what we've done.
Well, luckily the market has expanded so much as people recognize the value now.
Yes, I think so. And of course, convenience is a huge factor in driving people to a meal service. But more importantly, I think, and more significantly, you are what you eat, Joel, as you well know. And I know you explore this topic quite often on your show. And so our goal is really to help people understand the connection between what they eat, how they feel, and their optimum performance in life. And I think you see that tying back into our celebrity following. These are not people who want to lose weight. These are people who want to perform at their very best all the time.
Yes.
And they understand that in order to do that, you really have to eat well.
And so this is a pretty new book, isn't it?
It was published in 2008. I was fortunate enough to be published by Avery Publishing, which is a division of Penguin. And the book was a compilation of stories that I heard from clients like Uma Thurman, but also many women, hundreds of women that I've helped get back into shape and into not so much, again, it's not so much about weight loss, although for a lot of us women, losing baby weight is a challenge. But it's really about getting back to your feeling good about yourself, feeling good about your body, and feeling good in your new role as a mom. And as Mehmet Oz said on the back cover of the book, when he endorsed it, he said it's about gaining back your chi, your sort of inner sense of peace and feeling really empowered. There is a section in the book that's cut out for feeding your family as well. So there's a lot of guys who gain weight when going through starting a family. And there's a section in there about feeding your kids. So we have families that have followed this plan for years, long since after the need for baby weight has gone away, and now it's just about having a good blueprint which to follow to eat healthfully.
Now, when a woman has a healthy pregnancy and gains, let's say a healthy woman gains 25 pounds,
right.
And that woman then delivers a healthy baby.
Yes.
Realistically, that woman's body, if she's taking care of herself, would come back in a year, wouldn't it? It takes a year, doesn't it?
Doesn't need to take a year at all.
No?
Absolutely not. Sometimes it does take a year. Sometimes it takes 5 years. But if you were to be at a normal weight going into the pregnancy, which is a big factor as well, If you were an exerciser before you got pregnant and continue to exercise throughout your pregnancy with the advice of your doctor and within safety guidelines, you could successfully lose those 25 pounds in 30 to 60 days.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. And I will, not that I'm the shining example of anything, but I am the mother of 2 children, both of whom I gained about 20 to 25 pounds with. And I was back in shape 1 month after each pregnancy, and I had 2 C-sections.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
so
actually,
it can be done.
That.
I mean, it's not for everybody. It's not, obviously it's doctor approved. It's a doctor approved plan, but everybody's experience is different. All I'm here to tell you is it doesn't have to take a year.
All righty. We're speaking with Jackie Keller, author of this very popular book, Body After Baby. And Jackie's going to be right back with us. We're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. You're tuned in to LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.